dust is lying. We're tearing the veil tonight. Red planners screaming under NASA's paint. They color correct the truth till it fades away. Face on Mars stares back with ancient eyes. Pyramids rising where the dead wind cries. Cylinders gleaming in the rover's glare. Stone circles standing like they don't belong there. Brian Corey Dobbs got the footage on lock. John Ward slicing through the pixels non-stop. Sahara Cosmos, Ricardo Calvario, Jason Hoffman, Shaman, 7-Eleven, Alexander Cheskiewicz. We're all in. Mars Disclosure Live, ripping the lies apart tonight. Pyramids on Mars, life in the dirt, ancient cities buried. Feel the hurt. Mars Disclosure Live, truth is burning through the red sky. We expose the history, the nuked out past, potential for life. It's ours at last. It's ours at last. Xenon 1259 still ringing in the air. Somebody glassed the planet, left it bare. Blue planet red, got the proof on film. Independent eyes, we overwhelm. Rovers catch the shadows, artifacts in frame. They call it geology, we call it shame. Mars Disclosure Live, ripping the lies apart tonight. Pyramids on Mars, life in the dirt, ancient cities buried. Feel the hurt. Mars Disclosure Live, truth is burning through the red sky. We expose the history, the nuked out past, potential for life.
Sponsored by Spores MD for your personal mind-body wellness journey.
Greetings, humans. We are live for another Mars Disclosure Live on Sunday at 4 p.m. on May 31st. It is, I think, our 5th or 6th Mars Disclosure Live. I am Dave, your host from Dave's Multiverse. Today's deep dive into Mars mysteries. I'm passionate about exploring alternative histories and bringing together bold thinkers who love challenging the mainstream narrative. So let's get into it. I got a question for the chat and a question for each of my panelists as I introduce them. It's disclosure time, guys. We're doing Mars Disclosure Live, but disclosures happening all over the place right before our eyes. So let's get into it. First off, our producer, Megan Gibson, better known as Miss Indonesia Jones. She keeps the energy high and the conversations flowing. With her infectious enthusiasm and keen curiosity, she makes sure the best questions always rise to the surface. Megan, welcome back to another Mars Disclosure Live. And are you going to see Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day when it comes out?
Yeah, I want to get in on the chat we're going to do after it. So I got to see it. I think I'm going to go, though, on Saturday. I don't think I can make it on the Friday, but I'll be there before we chat.
It comes out June 11th, I believe, on a Thursday. And I just want to say, somebody's making a noise. There, okay, it's gone. I just want to say that myself, Brian, Megan, Ryan Barthel of he's a producer for Matt Bell's podcast, and my friend Ty from the Total Disclosure podcast are going to be doing a reaction to it. We're all going to go watch it, and then we're going to react to it on Sunday live. So look forward to that. Next up, we've got Jason Huffman, better known as Shaman 711, co-host of the Shaman and Philosopher podcast. He skillfully blends thoughtful research with philosophical perspectives, helping us connect Mars anomalies to humanity's cosmic story. Brother, welcome back. Are you going to Disclosure Day?
What's up, bro? I doubt it. I don't do movies anymore since the children are kind of past it, but I did do it regularly with them. And 6/11, no, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't know. I don't try. I don't trust it, Dave. It's too much to do with the systems right now. I'll wait for its home release and I'll check it out.
Propaganda, you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid, Dave. Our reality has been turned into a Netflix series over some of this disclosure stuff, and I don't mean ours. There's a reason I'm honored to sit amongst you gentlemen. I think we're on to quite something here, something concrete with Mars disclosure, and the games that seem to be being played with us with this whole disclosure release thing does not have me enthused to be anywhere near it, especially when pundits on mainstream are already starting to hint that, does this have something to do with the government? Are we really going to get the truth? That's when, I roll my eyes and say I'll do a hard pass and be much more entertained by watching Dave and his buddies do a live take afterwards and get some honest truth.
I feel everything you're saying, but stop pooping on my party, all right?
Dude, I hate that they took movies from me. I really do. I went to acting school, guys. I mean, come on, I used to love that craft and that art, and there are some that can still transport you. Braveheart will do it every time. But,
Troy does it. Troy.
On the whole, I'm afraid propaganda has just taken over so heavily. Yeah.
Well, chat, I wanted to ask chat, are you guys going? Next up, we've got Ricardo Calvario, my friend from the Institute for the Natural Philosophy and co-host of Shaman and Philosopher podcast with Jason, a dynamic and unconventional approach to ancient history and resonant philosophies. He's always ready to challenge established ideas with fresh, thoughtful perspectives. Are you going to see Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, Ricardo? And welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Well, I'm not sure because I don't know when it will be and at what time and if I will be busy at the time, but I'm sure I will give it a watch after, and because watching the shows talking about it is good, but if you don't watch it, then you can't really get your own perspective. But in regards to my lack of urgency in seeing it is because I'm following the disclosure for at least 30 years, and every year it's the year. So there's always way to keep people motivated. The community is always being hyped when things start to go down, and then it gets a little hype, and it keeps moving. But there's just one final note. I want to congratulate Brian because Brian has made the Wall of Shame.
The Wall of Shame?
Yes, I received yesterday some screenshots.
You beat me.
Yes, he did. He did beat you. So you are now on John Hoops Wall of Shame in Facebook.
What?
Yes.
Dude, that's an accomplishment, whether you're aware of what it all means. But bravo, sir.
I have no idea.
Tell us about John Hoops' Wall of Shame.
So John Hoops is supposed to be, he was at the very beginning an excellent archaeologist. Very good. But suddenly he was taken by the mainstream to be like an advocate of the science is settled. And so he spends his academic times on a Facebook page criticizing everybody that is alternative or not accepted by the very center mainstream dogmas.
Can I be a touch more honest than you are, bro? He's turned it being evil and trying to ruin careers into a full-time profession.
It's true.
This is on Facebook. Yeah, I missed it. I'm not really on Facebook.
No, it's for members only. It's a group of academics that spend their days making fun of other people. Okay, which I find amazing. These people have time to do this.
Adults, dude.
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's just, and so one of the guys asked, but are they doing this because they believe it or because of the money?
The money, yeah. We're all loaded off this.
And John
Yeah, we
Whoops,
all loaded, man. Oh,
and John
yes.
Whoops replied to him, "Why not both?" So,
You know, I remember John Hoops when I was just starting doing anything online with Lost Civilization, stuff like that. I was a kid like 17, 18 or something, like 20 followers or something like that. And then, he started commenting like huge paragraphs under anything I posted. And I was, what the hell is going on? Even casual people haven't watched the video or the post yet, and he's already in the comment section. So that was fun.
He's doing it for the money, is what he's doing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
and he
he's turned it
doesn't
into a
attack
career.
alone, right?
And ego. So you're
Right.
pressing the right buttons, Brian.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a badge of honor. Next,
Yeah.
And
next
it
up,
was
we've
Steve
got.
that gave me this information. Just want to know, it wasn't me that found out. It was Steve that sent it to me, the screenshots, because he is our infiltrated agent inside the
Oh.
community.
Steve is our runs everything at the institute. He's an
right.
incredible individual. So
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Steve, if you're watching.
Yes. Next up, we've got Alexander Cheshkovich joining us all the way from Poland, author of Deja Vu Has Everything Already Been, and editor of Dave's Multiverse. With his sharp insights into time, lost civilizations, and forgotten global heritage, he brings fascinating new layers to our understanding of the past. Are they talking about this movie at all in Poland, and are you going to go?
Actually, I've heard, I think, from like your social media, I don't remember, but I just checked it like in Polish, and like almost nothing's there, like some posts from like the biggest news outlets from like just like 2 days ago or something, but it's not popular at all. And one interesting note, the translation of the title is actually not like Disclosure Day, but Revelation Day, which a little bit shocks me. Like revelation, like in a religious sense of that, like more. It's more connected to the religious word than disclosure thing. It's a different kind of word we use for disclosure. Here it is objawienie and ujawnienie. So interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
That is very interesting. Next up, the legendary Jean Ward, a leading independent Mars researcher and graphic designer who excels at uncovering anomalous structures and potential artifacts in NASA's Mars imagery. His meticulous eye continues to rewrite what we know about the red planet. Welcome back to the show. Are you going to Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day?
Well, Dave, thanks for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Well, I live in South Africa, which is at the ass end of the world nowadays. So I don't know if you'll get the movie in South Africa, but I'll watch it online for sure. I look forward to it. I think it's going to be quite scary. Did you guys see the final trailer?
No, I didn't. I've only seen the first one.
I don't watch trailers. Don't spoil it.
Oh, man, it's quite disturbing. That's all I can say. And then, to hook into what Jason said about the subject that's being made a joke of and is not being taken seriously, did you guys check out the aliens the webpage on whitehouse.gov?
Oh, yeah. Jason and I went balls deep on that.
Yeah, we did.
It is so disappointing.
It was more like earlobe deep, to be honest with you, Megan. It was.
You
I
know,
haven't heard that one in a while.
the second batch was better than the first batch, though.
It was.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the wh.gov/aliens.
He's
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
Well, I hope
no.
they are too.
No, Dave.
That was such a disappointment, huh?
They mogged
Yeah.
everybody, right? They said they put out an aliens.gov, and when you get there, it's about illegal aliens, immigrants.
Yes. What a
And they put out all these memes. They walk among us, and all this shit.
yeah, they've
Oh my
infiltrated our
gosh.
schools.
That's ridiculous. I didn't know that. I was thinking about the
Yeah,
war.gov
this was
/UFO.
Right. This was after the second batch, Dave. The week after they started saying, "Hey, we got this new thing coming," and then it's like it totally went sideways and like
Yeah.
That's
it was a
ugly,
fucking
man.
joke.
Right.
And then I don't know if you guys know Max Derekshani, Manelli. He got fired for talking about these types of things. And he worked for the CO2
Yes,
advisory panel.
Dr. Max Derek-Shiny, he's actually been on News Nation talking about
Yes.
lunar anomalies
Yep.
before all this stuff started coming out with the White House releases about the moon lights and Avi Loeb writing about it. So Max has been in this for a little bit too.
Yeah, which was very disappointing. I mean, we live in the age of disclosure, yet you still get these scientists that are totally unwilling to change their minds, open their minds to new ideas. It's very disappointing. But anyway, that's it from me. My rant is over.
Very cool. Thank you for joining the show again. And last but not least, we are joined by award-winning filmmaker and journalist Brian Corey Dobbs, BCD himself, director of the groundbreaking documentary Blue Planet Red. He fearlessly investigates evidence of ancient Martian life and the dramatic events that shaped the planet's history. And, he's the engine behind all this, pushing this out into the mainstream. And so I just want to say thank you, brother, for that. And welcome back to the show. And I know you're going to see it because we both bought tickets yesterday. What are your thoughts on the movie and going to see it?
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. Jason, I hear you on the whole, commoditization aspect of it or commercialization, whatever you want to call it. Being skeptical of its truthfulness, et cetera, in this age of real life disclosure, what value does a Hollywood film bring? Because I have no idea what the story is about, but I assume that it's, based off of real world developments here and that it's going through the Spielberg lens of things. So no doubt it'll be an entertaining movie. But what value does an entertaining movie bring to folks like us who are actually covering this stuff on a weekly basis? It may not bring that much, and we might sort of be ahead of it all in terms of what we know, what's really happening versus what the movie depicts. But I want to remind everybody that there's still a lot of people out there who have no idea any of this stuff is going on. So I do see some value in this movie serving as an entry point, even if it's fiction, to this whole thing, because they go see this movie. Wow, that's really cool. That's a really neat story. And they might have a friend that says, well, oh, by the way, did you know this stuff is really happening? What? I didn't know that. And then it could serve as that sort of pivot point for people to really get into it. So I'm hopeful that that's.
Are you going to wear your hashtag Mars Disclosure Live T-shirt to the show when you guys see it?
Dude, oh geez, we got a long ways to go. Mars Disclosure is the redheaded stepchild of this whole disclosure thing, but I want to share a little bit more thoughts as we get into it. But just relating to Disclosure Day, I'm excited. Spielberg, a few years ago, as this stuff was heating up, and Jeremy Corbell, after watching Balthazar, and I was getting into it myself, I'm like, if this is really happening, then Hollywood needs to make a movie about this, about what's really happening. I love my space alien invasion and stuff like that, but let's do a real world feature film on this kind of thing. And last I heard, Joseph Kosinski was also developing a movie based off of David Grush. Joseph Kosinski did Tron Legacy, the Top Gun sequel, F1 with Brad Pitt. He's Oblivion with Tom Cruise. He's a really high quality filmmaker. So I'm eager to see if he actually comes out with something too, because he's a very competent filmmaker. But yeah, looking forward to it, and can't wait to discuss it with you guys.
Yeah, I have just a few thoughts as somebody who's been following this topic for 30 years. The propaganda, the media, the TV shows, movies, books, Bob Lazar, whistleblowers, the whole thing. And there's a few comments I wanted to pull up here. Ricardo Petrazzi says Spielberg will just rehash everything this community already knows. Yes, but hold that thought. Also, Great for All says the government has its hands all over this movie. It's a hard pass for me. Yes, but hold that thought. And then there's one more. Mr. Spielberg, a very good friend of Mr. Epstein. Whatever he's up to has something to do with social engineering, with propaganda, and nothing to do with disclosure. He's like pizza. Remember Poltergeist? I don't get that last comment. But I wanted to say two things about this. Number one, we are living in the age of disclosure because this stuff is being talked about on the most mainstream platforms for the first time ever, instead of just the corners of the weirdo internet and like sci-fi stuff and whatnot. Number one, which I think is a good thing. And number two, if they are social engineering and if the government has its hands all over this for propaganda purposes, wouldn't we want to know, if you're looking through that lens, wouldn't you want to know what they're trying to tell us and what they want to tell us and what they want to think? Because I do. So I'm excited for both reasons. One, just being a goofy fan of UFOs since I was a kid. And number two, I want to know what they want us to know. So
I do too.
I'm going at it like that, guys. But I figured that was a good question to start off the show because we are in the business of disclosure. This week, I watched astrobiologist, trying to find her name, Alyssa Carson on Danny Jones this week. And she shared, the title was What NASA Isn't Telling Us About Mars. And I went into it thinking, yeah, this is just going to be vanilla stuff. But it wasn't. She's talking about recent biological fingerprints found in 2025, building blocks of life that Curiosity detected in 2026 with complex organic molecules, including fatty acid chains and nitrogen-bearing ring structures, hidden habitats, evidence of ancient groundwater soaking sand dunes long after the surface evaporated, bunch of different atmospheric surprises, radiation exposure, altered gravity fields. She went deep on this and on one of the biggest platforms, Danny Jones. And she seems like a legit person. She's training her ass off to be an astronaut. And I thought that was pretty cool because that's some of these ideas out into the mainstream. It was mildly vanilla. Like he tried to get her to talk about pyramids and stuff on Mars, and she wasn't willing to do that. But they are putting the scientific discoveries about this stuff out there, so that's kind of cool.
That's interesting.
Dave, I'm glad you took the time to watch that. All those things you mentioned are basically NASA approved talking points. I mean, all that stuff is legit stuff. Yeah. That's all been signed off on. So, it's nice that they're talking about that much, but there's, all the stuff that we've covered here, like there's all the things that people don't know about Mars. Like that's what we're here to talk about. So I wish, Danny Jones, he is, it's really great that Danny Jones keeps on bringing back, the subject of Mars. But he has yet to really have anybody on who has the whole picture.
Get Brian Corey Dobbs on Danny Jones. Let's go. We need Brian Corey Dobbs on, or John Ward.
We are,
or both.
We're doing the hard work here. This group right here of really building a grassroots movement to try to bring awareness to all this stuff, and we got a long way to go, and it'll happen when the time is right. We can't rush the process, and part of what I have in mind, just Dave and I were talking about this, is like, again, a lot of our these initial disclosure live stream conversations, it's presentation heavy because I want to get everyone caught up to speed so that we can have a group discussion about, like, here's all the data. Now let's all talk about it and put our heads together to see where it goes from here. I really want to try to put our collective minds on this because, well, there's something that I'm working on a proposal here, my own vision about how this fits into the existing communities out there. We can talk about that in a second. But anyway, I just want to
Blue Planet Red Part 2, the disclosure files.
anyway, so
I would love to see a Blue Planet Red Part 2. Yes, that'll be awesome.
Dave, you're muted, I think.
And what about merch?
Is it in the works? That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, well, it's what I'm speaking to is not necessarily a project, but a messaging campaign. I'll explain more in a minute. I just want you to finish up, the whole intro here, Dave.
Dave, are we going to do merch eventually?
I think we should do merch.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. But yeah, we're done with the intro.
Hang on, before you close the window on the intro, Dave, because I've been doing all these things with you, I have one thought. It's 30 seconds before we shut this window. You said when you were talking about going to see this movie, you said, we want to know what the propaganda would be, right, man?
Yes.
We want to know. Okay. You're old enough and of my generation to remember when they used to cut little snippets of porn to send subliminal messages to you in the films at the movie theater? So if we're talking about a project like Bluebeam, if we're thinking they're looking for some sort of mass psychosis, could we not then posit that going to see this movie about things talking through people in the theater might also be filled with some sort of physical subconscious propaganda? Yeah.
I'm here for it. What's interesting is when I went to book,
get myself thrown on the crazy train and earn my few viewers. I got to throw my honest thought out once in a while.
You could be right.
In the final trailer, I got a very dark feeling in my soul, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Because Brian doesn't want to know.
You guys can see why. There's a message there. I picked it up.
Yeah, but they are allowing people to go with their
spiritual
tinfoil hats, so everybody can be secured. Just bring your best tinfoil hat. Yes, so protect.
Well, when I
yourself.
went to book my ticket, the theater was halfway full almost 2 weeks before. So I think it's going to be like a widely viewed movie across the board. When it comes to Spielberg and the scale of the movie and the promotion level. So if Jason's right, we're about to have, a good 100 million people hypnotized.
I'm not, but I'm glad to know Jean's on the crazy train with me, and we may proceed with presentations now.
They're preparing us for the fake alien invasion.
The thing is, do you think there is any coincidence that Spielberg brings a movie about disclosure when we are having bumps ins and outs with disclosure for the last 3 years, which
Not
is
at
the
all.
time that takes to make.
Not at all. It's all part of the plan.
Yes.
And I'm here for it, guys.
Me as well. I want to see what they're up to.
Brian has a presentation continuing from last week that I think we'll get into unless anyone has any more comments.
No.
But yeah, disclosure.
Yeah, you'll see more disclosure in District 9 from a lot of years ago than in what you're going to see.
Oh yeah. You can. That's happening right now.
So before we get into the presentation, here's what I'm working through here. There's Mars Mars disclosure is in the middle of two existing very popular fields here, one of which is disclosure overall, UFO disclosure, and ancient civilizations. We've got overlap with both of these different subjects. And I think there's plenty of evidence to put forth to contribute to each one of these conversations that collectively we have in these different communities. As it relates to ancient civilization, let's just take a look at Egyptian pyramids. You know, there's still the people who are beholden to this idea that these things are giant tombs. And then there's the folks who are thinking, no, these are something else. And I'm partial to the work of Jeffrey Drum in the Land of Chem. Everyone is, of course, open to view things as they want to, but I think the work he has done makes a whole lot of sense to me. And I remember him being on Matt Bell saying, what we're seeing here, you know, specifically he thinks these things are chemical factories that attract lightning from the sky and produce chemicals and this, that, the other. And each one of the pyramids produces a different chemical. He's done so much homework on this, and he speaks so well about, there's so much detail that makes your brain explode. But ultimately he boils down, he distills all this down. He's like saying, what we're seeing here is direct evidence. These structures are direct evidence of a type 1 civilization. And he's trying to think of the why these things would have had to been built in the first place. And he says, well, let's just say after the Younger Dryas, this is what he says. After the Younger Dryas, we had this catastrophe. We had to rebuild civilization. So we really needed to feed a lot of people, needed to produce a lot of chemicals. So we need to do that on an industrial scale. So we made these temples, or we made these pyramids. I think I agree with him on the function. I don't agree with him at all on the timeline. It makes no sense to me how a devastated world would have had the resources to put something like these together. And then we forgot this knowledge because we don't know exactly how they were put together. It seems more or less impossible. How did they do this? I am much more on the Matthew LaCroix side of things, that these things were built before the Younger Dryas catastrophe, perhaps much further back in time. All that being said, we're seeing pyramids on Mars. We're seeing similar constructions, flat top, four-sided pyramids, like one John found, Gary's found, and elsewhere. What I'm really trying to tie together, which we have a lot more to discuss here, but this, I just want to take a moment to put this out there, is that whomever built these structures here on Earth were the same people who built them on Mars. I don't yet have a strong case to make that connection. I'm still putting all of this together. So I really think that Mars disclosure has quite a bit to contribute to this ancient civilization stuff, because I don't know if the ancient civilization people know that there's these structures on Mars. So number one, we have to sort of educate people, show people that there are these things on Mars, and then sort of try to figure out if there is that connection of like, okay, we know Mars was a blue planet. It's possible. It's a possible connection, one that is more informed by the metaphysical analysis of Mars, which we have yet to discuss, and something that I'm not quite as familiar with. But the ancient civilization crowd, they know of these ancient Sumerian texts that talk about very old aliens coming to Earth, possibly coming from Mars. These things I don't really know well enough to speak about, but I really think that any conversation that we have now regarding the dating of when these Egyptian pyramids were constructed, I really think it needs to reconcile why we're seeing these similar things on Mars. So I'm really trying to, that's the argument that I'm working on. I just don't have it well enough developed. And I'm just putting that out there to see if it resonates with anybody, because
Have you been talking to Dr. Allison Brown like Megan and I did yesterday? Because she really flipped that on its head for me.
yes, and Alice and I are actually working together. We're actually working on a book, and if Dave, if you don't mind, at some point, maybe next time we do this, we can talk more about the metaphysical analysis of this, including the work of the remote viewers and the channelers, because that has a little bit more to add to this conversation. But right, that's exactly sort of where I'm going with this. So anyway, that's my my proposal. That's where I'm going with this. Ricard, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. Your initial gut reaction.
Well, my initial gut reaction tells me that it's very hard to understand what is the purpose or the date of pyramids on the Earth. It will be harder still to do it on pyramids on Mars. But if we are recognizing things from a geometrical point of view that happens again and again and again, and requires us to understand that it's not an accident, it's not something caused by erosion or geological processes, then I think it's the most how should I say it? It's the best way to bring awareness and prepare what can be done after. Because if we're dealing with things that can be related to high possibility of being concrete, of being actually done, I think it's a much better path than to just be on the speculation that can not be shown as correct in any way, shape, or form, right? But I think that it is. We are in a phase that even here with concrete evidence, you can't prove things that are fighting against the system, right? So it won't be an easy drive. It won't be an easy ride. It will be hard to keep pushing it, and our luck is if really we reach out and touch people with this information. If they actually decide that this is important and they start supporting the project in itself with their comments, with their views, even with their work proposals, because you've met people like Sean and others because they liked your work and it reached out, and people reach out to you and you contact people. And if we can make that grow exponentially, it reaches a point that has to be acknowledged, right? And I think that you've done a good job so far, and I think you'll continue to do so in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And we can revisit this conversation later. I'm not really prepared to discuss it at length. It's just when Jeffrey Drum said that, this is evidence of a type 1 civilization, because we know what that means in theory, but what does that mean in practicality?
Well,
putting these large structures together for to produce mass scale chemicals to do these sorts of things with stone. So these machines so big you can fit a person, you can go inside of these things.
Sure.
That clicked for me, because if Mars was blue and aliens went there, they had to start up civilization, and then the planet went to hell. Now we got to go to Earth and start it up there again. That's where it makes intuitive sense to me.
I understand, and I've heard several people, I even talked with several people that defend the idea of chemical plants. But I think that's just a sequence of pieces that fit in the right position, but they don't have the full puzzle. So they're just putting them in the right pieces, but without the context of everything else, it's just lost. And it doesn't make sense to me. If there was a catastrophe, as you said, there is not many people to feed. What is need is to correct the Earth, is to correct the energies, is to reorientate the planet for him to being connected again in a sense of type 1 civilization. That is not how people are seeing it in science fiction sense, but to me is an understanding of the earth energies and the use of those energies for a fully self-sufficient global civilization, right? That creates the Eden, where even animals are docile. Everything is easy. There's no war, as we've seen in these periods, like the Assyrians, the Iberians, until 4000 BC. They have no tool that could be considered to be a weapon, because a weapon is something that it only made to kill another human being. They didn't have those. That only happens after that. And when that happens, exactly when the Stone Age ends and the Copper Age begins, at that period. And it's exactly on that turn point that wars start, because until that point, they didn't have any understanding of war in many regions of the earth. Right? They still live in this idyllic environment controlled by these megalithic structures in terms of energy, in terms of resonance, where societies didn't have different houses. Everybody lived in the same type of house. They didn't build fortified structures atop hills. They live on the plains just next to the monuments. Right? And then suddenly you start seeing the building at the end of it, of structures like Karnak that are clearly trying to intensify a line that was dying. Right, and it's all related to the tale of Arthur, the saving of the earth, the finding of the Grail. There is a knowledge to save the earth. So all of this is what I consider to be the Type 1 civilization, where these monuments could be in contact everywhere with one another through the crystal matrix of the earth. Right, it's
some type of grid.
Yeah, and I think that pyramids, especially the big ones as we see in Egypt, to me, even though I'm not saying it is that, it would make more sense to me if they are there aside its functionalities, to be as a pendulum to correct the earth in some form or shape, to turn its axis the necessary degree, or apart from all other functionalities that they have, right? So, and Mars, it would be exactly the same thing. They are highly energetic structures. They were tested by the Russians in the 70s and in the 80s when testing was allowed, right? And they found that the pyramid creates a flux of energy down and up that is monstrous. It can, a university from the United States that I can't remember the name went there based on that study, did their own studies around 6 to 7 years ago, and found out that the pyramids, if charged or uncharged, could possibly even control the weather. And this is from university. It's not alternative thinking. It's a proper academic paper. So they have multifunctionalities. I don't know if creating chemicals is one of them. The use of chemicals might be one of them.
I mean,
but it's irrelevant to the point. The point is they are indeed things that are Type 1 civilization, that understands the planet where it is, understands its energies, its currents, interconnection.
Right. And I think on a separate show, maybe we could, talk about trying to find that nexus between the two. I don't have this well enough developed in my head. It's just sort of one of these off the cuff sort of things. But anyway,
it's still floating around in my head right now, because we talked to Alison Brown yesterday, and she says all that is true, what Ricardo was saying, and more. I think it makes more sense than I think these structures are far older. I don't know if I go with everything Allison told me, and the episode will come out in 2 weeks, by the way. But
check that out, guys. It's amazing.
They're far older than we thought, and they have far more meaning than that's attributed to them. And I think Ricardo is on the right track when he says they alter the conditions of the earth, both on the planet and in its place within the solar system, its alignments and all kinds of different things, in order to create what you would call like an Eden for humans to maximize their potential and evolve at a rate that is in a progressive and in a rate that like we get better over time. And now they still have energetic properties, but it's mostly dormant, and those dormant properties still exist, but that's why we see the sort of global chaos and power grabs and control grabs that we have in the world today. Because if we were all working together along the same energetic frequency, we would be a type 1 civilization by now instead of a type 0.72 or whatever we're at. And so I do think that those are the answers, and how they relate to Mars, which is what we're going to get into, is quite possibly the most profound idea that is out there right now. Because if a similar civilization existed on Mars, and for whatever reason a catastrophe happened and humans ended up on Earth, and then they set up the same energetic stations to create life, then that somehow, some way, that means that there's beings or entities out there that are taking care of us and setting this stuff up for us. And I know that's out
there are
there.
Also,
but
those that don't like that, right? And those are the one winning right now. Those that don't think that harmony is a way to make a profit. Those that need chaos and war and control. They don't like to be equals. They want to be superior. They want to command. They don't want to be just one in the sheep, one in the flock. So, and that's what caused all the problems on the planet. That and causing matriarchal societies to end up, because they were much better in that time than we are now.
Jason, did you have something you were going to say?
I'll make it real quick, dude. I just wanted to back you up because you say you have no backing or grounding in this. Real quick, off the top of my head, Randall Carlson is a major name who just came out with pretty deep thoughts of his on this that align with you. What I go to, dude, is that even the dating of the Sphinx, right? If I use the geologic dating from Robert Schoch, I get to the middle of the Younger Dryas, right? I get to the time when this catastrophe was happening. So whether or not it is older than that, in my mind, you take it at least that far, right? It is at least that far. And then could it have been a smaller version of what we see on Mars, right? Could the people who were on Mars come here, set up this whole Atlantean thing, they screwed up, boom, catastrophe, and while the catastrophe is coming, a few of them get together, do what they can, which is probably minimal to what was here before the cataclysm, and set up these pyramids. But you're already right there with mainstream thought. I mean, when you read Graham Hancock, when you talk to most alternatives, you're already starting with these things being built roughly in the Younger Dryas. So you're not far out of left field.
Yeah, 40,000 years is more likely the number.
And just thank you for, okay, you just reminded me of something. I want to tell everybody that, speaking of Graham Hancock wrote that book, Mars Mystery, with two people, Robert Bivall and this other guy named John Grigsby. Long story short, I made contact with John Grigsby last week. And actually, I found a tweet of his from Dan the D-Dunker. He's only tweeted a handful of times, but somehow I found him through Dan's tweets or whatever. And then I came across this guy, John Grigsby's blog, and he has a post on there about his experience writing the book with Graham 30 years ago and how he expected it to launch his career, and then it didn't go anywhere. And it was something that they sort of distanced themselves from, and he hasn't really felt great about it this whole time. And so I reached out to him and I said, John, you guys were right. You've been right this whole time. Like, he's beating himself up, and like, imagine, like, for 30 years feeling like a failure. And I'm like, John, no, you guys were onto something. The data that has been published since has backed you guys up. Now, I'm not talking about, like, there's a whole third of the book that talks about the connections to Egypt specifically, which, I'm not making that case. But for the life on Mars, the structures on Mars, there's only more data in support of that. Please contact me. He actually did get back to me. He's like, wow, this is very welcome. I'd love to, I asked him to set up do a one-on-one Zoom so I could, properly get acquainted. But I sent him some of my videos. I said, look, we got a whole thing going on now. I mean, Mars Disclosure's under new management, all right? Here's my video. Here's my YouTube. Check out my movie. Like, get yourself caught up to speed, and, like, let's chat. Like, he would be a good guest to have on here, Dave, because if nothing else, what I'll do is I'll follow up with you guys later just to send you to his blog. And, if any of you guys have a moment just to say, hey, John, look, we got a group going on here. We'd love to get you reacclimated to the community here, because I don't know if he's like been living in shame for the past 30 years. I don't know. But I really wanted to make him aware that things have changed and he shouldn't feel so bad about it. And I'm glad I got in touch. I've yet to really get him one-on-one, but I've exchanged a few notes. So thanks for reminding me of that, Jason.
No, bravo on you, dude, for letting your own empathy and your own, letting all of those things trigger you, and you make the move on it. That's beautiful, dude. So congratulations on that. Because as you say, you don't know where these people are, and we just vaguely imagine 30 years of what that could be like. So bravo, man, on reaching out to them.
Thanks. Dave, maybe now would be a good point to get into the second half of this catastrophism.
Let's go. I thought it was a
Presentation.
fun discussion beforehand. So
This will be a little short. This will be shorter than last time, I promise. But let me just first say, guys, this has been one of the. This portion of all the Mars stuff I've been showing is the most. The thing I've been most excited to talk about and to present. You guys are probably a little bit aware about where we're going with this. You might have heard this, that, and the other. But I think it's really important to understand the genesis of this data and genesis of the story and the genesis of the story of the man behind the research who connected these dots, which I think is a really interesting story. And it really, and I'll show you the developments that I've personally been able to be involved with ever since learning about this. But I feel so strongly about what I'm about to present, which is why I made the goddamn film, okay? Because this is such an important story, and I'm sitting around here thinking, why is nobody talking about this? We got to talk about this, y'all. So, so this aspect, okay, so I'm just real excited about it anyway. So, all right, let me just present this here. Okay, and do a full screen.
got it, Megan.
Share screen. Let me do is it screen one.
On standby.
Here we go. Tell me when you guys see my
Yeah,
screen.
got
here.
it.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we need to see the text at the bottom? Should we adjust fire like here? Maybe no, that don't work.
Can I? Whoops.
I think
Okay.
Yeah, we can just get rid of everyone. That'll work.
Oops. Go back. Okay. Can I do full screen? No.
F11.
Stop sharing. Minimize that. F11. F-lock.
Is that your F11? So I'm sorry. To me, it's full screen.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys see my Mars planet here, right?
We got you.
Okay, sorry. All right. So we left off. We talked about electric universe. We talked about electrical discharge, plasma discharge last week. We talked about the data that has been published by NASA showing that the solar wind, while it is somewhat stripping away the atmosphere of Mars, it's just not stripping away enough of it to really be significant. Okay.
Yep.
And what we're about to get into is a completely different field of study here. Okay, so what destroyed the atmosphere of Mars? Well, we as we remember from last time in 1976, NASA sent the Viking mission to Mars. It had 2 orbiters and 2 landers. These 2 landers went down to the planet's surface and just landed and did soil samples, and they did atmospheric samples. So, and it is here. This is the atmosphere of Mars. And the answer to what destroyed the Martian atmosphere is right there on that last line. And most people would look at that and not know what the hell it is that we're looking at. But if you're the right kind of person, and when you see that data, that means something to you. And that's what we're about to get into. Okay, so what I'm about to introduce to you, who I'm about to introduce to you, is a guy by the name of John Brandenburg. You might have heard me say Brandenburg this, Dr. Brandenburg that, whatever. He's a plasma physicist. He's still with us today. You can see him here in 1984. And in 1984, he was working at Sandia National Laboratories, which is a R&D laboratory for the Department of Energy. Okay, it's a National Nuclear Security Administration. Still in operation today, high-tech facility, doing all kinds of crazy research. And in 1984, he was working here at Sandia National Laboratories, and he picked up, he was just curious, he was following NASA's mission, he was just personally interested, having nothing to do with his job. He was just personally interested in what was going on with Mars exploration and the Viking mission. And so he was standing in line at the photocopy machine with this book, The Scientific Results of the Viking Project. And what he was looking at was that chart I showed you a second ago, that table of data, the isotopes and the atmospheric measurements of the Martian atmosphere. And that was printed in this book here. And he was standing in line at the photocopy machine at Sandia National Labs, wanting to just simply make a photocopy of the page of atmospheric gases on the Mars planet, and specifically these odd isotopes that he was witnessing. He was looking at the data like these isotopes are odd. So, hey, Jason, I have a favor to ask of you, sir. Since you are a fan of film, you went to acting school, and you have a deep, soothing voice, I'm wondering if you could read the text that I'm about to put on screen, which comes directly from Dr. Brandenburg's book.
Hey, he does that for me.
Does he?
Yeah, it's because he's good. He's got that voice.
Okay, cool. Jason, cool?
I'm here, Brian. Absolutely, bro.
Fantastic. Okay. So what we're about to read are excerpts from Dr. Brandenburg's book, picking up from this moment where he's standing at the photocopier with this book in his hand. Okay? Jason.
A fellow next to me found my book interesting as he waited also. I explained to him that the atmosphere of Mars had very peculiar patterns of nuclear isotopes of oxygen and nitrogen compared to Earth, indicating possible past conditions like Earth. The fellow, as it turns out, was a nuclear physicist and an expert on monitoring the Earth's atmosphere for covert nuclear tests. This was a large program at Sandia. I knew, and was to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons by detecting even secret nuclear tests by rogue countries. Then I mentioned the isotopes of xenon, a heavy noble gas found in Earth's atmosphere and used in strobe lights. The pattern of relative isotope abundance of xenon on Mars were bizarre compared to Earth. The solar wind and the meteorite gases people had used for comparison. The numbers had jumped off the page because they were so different than Earth. In particular, xenon 129 was super abundant in the Mars atmosphere compared to other isotopes that I'd mentioned. He looked at me in sudden astonishment, his smile vanishing. "Can I see that?" he asked, and I handed him the book, opened to the page with a table of atmospheric isotope concentrations. Since I was about to copy it, he frowned deeply and then looked very troubled. "Somebody nuked them," he said suddenly. "That's what the xenon 129 superabundance means." The words pierced my soul like a blade of ice. He handed back the book and stared at me, wordlessly, letting the words sink in. Looking deeply troubled and in thought, he then set down his own book and walked away, out of the library and down the darkened hallway. I knew that reaction. It meant he had caught himself talking about something classified in an unclassified area and was excusing himself.
Thank you, Jason. I have more to come, but I'm going to take a quick break. So, this one very brief interaction that Brandenburg has with this guy just standing in line at the photocopier at Sandia was very odd for Dr. Brandenburg. And he never saw this guy again. He doesn't know his name, never saw him again. But after this incredibly weird interaction, Dr. Brandenburg was compelled to look into this further. Him being a plasma physicist, he can understand these sorts of things. He has the capacity to understand all these sorts of details. So he started connecting dots, and he's published a few times on this. Okay. And you can go and read the research yourself if you want. I've got it linked on my site. But he has been the sole person to study this very specific issue about Mars. He's been the only one. He's kind of one of these outcast scientists that people just think he's a crazy guy with these crazy theories. And heck, when I first heard about this, I was one of those people. I said, there's no way. This sounds nuts. I got his book. I read the research. And then I'm like, all right, well, let me see if I can vet this a little bit more. So he's published all this stuff. Now, the thing about the Martian atmosphere is that NASA says that it's been stripped away by the solar wind over a very long period of time. Okay? What Dr. Brandenburg's research indicates was that the Martian atmosphere vanished quickly. And here we go. This is what, a lot of this information just comes right from Brandenburg, like an email or maybe just stuff I pulled from his papers. But there's this nitrogen ratio, nitrogen 14 to nitrogen 15. And the ratio of nitrogen 14 to 15 indicates a loss of a few millibar by solar wind erosion. This is another technical detail that indicates the atmosphere as it relates to the solar wind's influence on it was not really affected by the solar wind that much, just a few millibar. Okay, the Martian atmosphere vanished fast. Now, xenon. This xenon sounds like a funky, made-up word, but it is in fact on the periodic table of elements. We just don't hear about it that much, but it's there. And what we're talking about is an isotope of xenon. And for those who don't know what an isotope is, imagine, what is hydrogen? Hydrogen has one proton, right? One proton, one electron. If you add a neutron to the nucleus, then it's an isotope of hydrogen, okay? It's just a heavier version of hydrogen. So, and if you take a look at the isotopics of xenon on Mars, the ratio of it's the ratio of xenon 129 that is of particular interest. There is this spike of xenon 129. It is what they say hyper abundant in the Mars atmosphere, and this spike in the Martian atmosphere is so dramatically different than anywhere else in the solar system. Okay, relative to other major solar system reservoirs such as Earth, Jupiter, solar wind, all the meteorites that they ground up, no other place has this one particular spike of xenon 129. Here's a paper, a research paper, in situ measurement of atmospheric krypton and xenon on Mars with Mars Science Laboratory. I think that just means atmospheric measurements by the Curiosity rover. And I'm quoting from the paper. In the paper, it says, what remains unclear, in particular for xenon, are the sources of the excesses. either analytic mass interferences or the presence of atmospheric spallation and neutron capture components could cause such effects in xenon. Now, a lot of that doesn't really make sense to anybody, but let's focus on these words. Neutron capture. Okay, what is neutron capture? Just pulling from Wikipedia. Think of any thermonuclear process. Okay, I'll just read it here. Neutron capture is a nuclear reaction in which atomic nucleus and one or more neutrons collide and merge to form a heavier nucleus. So when a neutron is absorbed into the nucleus of a different atom, that's what is called neutron capture. And it can happen in stars, it can happen in two different ways: as a rapid process, R process, or a slow process, S process. Okay, so there's two different kinds of neutron capture. Not all nuclear reactions are created equal. So there's a difference between R process and S process. We're going to hear more about that in a second. But so in other words, think of it this way. R process is what happens when a star blows up or when a nuclear weapon blows up. S process is what happens in the nuclear power plants. Totally different nuclear processes. Okay. And quoting from Dr. Brandenburg's first paper on the subject, in order to boost the yield of a hydrogen bomb, the bomb casing is typically made of uranium-238 or thorium. We're going to come back to that in a second. Thorium. Accordingly, xenon-129 is produced only in small amounts by normal fission, but in a conventional hydrogen bomb explosion, it is produced in large amounts. Okay? Now, we have historical precedent for a nuclear weapon where a bomb casing had thorium in it. And if you go back to this nuclear weapons test known as CANAKIN, okay, you can look it up on Wikipedia. They basically drilled a hole into the earth and put a giant nuclear weapon and detonated a nuclear weapon deep down underground. Back in the 70s, an underground nuclear weapons test, okay, up in Alaska, okay, with an explosive yield of almost 5 megatons, and it was the test was the largest underground explosion ever detonated by the United States. Okay. CANAKIN, it was detonated in the 70s. Let's see here. 5 megatons, largest underground test. Okay, this is funny. The ground lifted 20 feet when it exploded. The ground itself, like everywhere, caused an explosive force almost 400 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb. Subsidence and faulting at the site created a new lake several hundred meters wide. The explosion caused a seismic shock of 7.0 in the Richter scale, causing rock falls and turf slides of a total of 35,000 square feet. Through earthquakes and tsunamis predicted by environmentalists though earthquakes and tsunamis did not occur, a small number of tectonic events did occur in the following weeks. Okay. They've got video footage of this, and I'm just going to play it on loop for just a second so you guys can just take all this in. This was that weapons test, the CANAKIN weapons test.
Whoa.
Can you guys see the ground moving there?
Yes.
Dang.
And there's a link to a longer video if you guys want to see the full thing later. There's a link here I can send you. Okay.
Whoa.
I know, it's unreal to watch. They actually filmed this stuff. It's crazy.
I'm just like surprised they did it so close to buildings to affect them that greatly. Wow.
I know, everything's just it's crazy.
Like there's no way the plumbing works for that building after that.
I know.
No way.
These guys could have burned our atmosphere away. What were they thinking?
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Yeah, they went hard back in the 70s.
Dangerous, huh?
Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
So, Why am I telling you about this? Because Canakin, it was in 2008, they declassified the fact that the radiation in this test contained thorium. Okay, here's the paper. Fact that the thorium metal was used in the radiation case of the Canakin warhead. Okay? And if we look at Mars, it has these radioactive hotspots. 1, 2, and on the opposite side of the planet, 3. Quoting from his paper, hotspots of thorium and potassium in Mars acidalium, centered at approximately 35 west, 55 north, and Utopia Planitia at approximately 95 east and 55 north, with another concentration at the approximate antipode of the center of the hypothetical explosions, approximately 160 east, 40 south, are consistent with large Tunguska-like explosions sending shockwaves around the planet, and are thus consistent with the interpretation of this being due to a massive R process event. If we look at the map, okay, we can see Viking 2 lander landed over here, and this circle here, L-pair, large process. This is what this is Brandenburg's nuclear event, just acronym for it. He, quote, note the absence of major craters or volcanic features. This is where these hotspots are, these circles here, okay? But we don't see any craters or volcanoes here, all right? But you know where else we don't see craters?
Tunguska.
That's true.
And yeah, in Japan.
Okay. In these spots on Mars, we also see a lot of natural glass. Okay. Meaning there was a high heat event. You guys may have heard of, any of you guys watch Oppenheimer? Okay. The Trinity test produced a lot of trinitite. Okay, underneath, all the sand just turned to this natural glass, right? So, all right, so I looked into all this, and I'm like, this is crazy. You know, I'm just like, this can't possibly be true. This is nuts. Is this guy really onto something, or is like I want somebody to tell me that this is not true, and I can just go home and sleep easy. So I'm like, okay. Why don't I try to find a nuclear weapons expert to help figure this shit out with me? Because I'm making the film and I'm like, I got to put this up to the test here. So I found this guy, Dr. Stephen Bigalski from Georgia Tech, who's a nuclear weapons expert. And I had the great fortune of having him respond to my email. And I said, hey, Dr. Bigalski, is this crazy Mars stuff that this Brandenburg guy is talking about, is this real? What can you tell me about this? And here was his response. Brian, thank you for the invitation. Because I wanted to interview him on camera. He's like, thank you for the invitation, but I need to decline. I am aware of the high xenon-129 levels on Mars, but I do not think this is evidence of a thermonuclear explosion. There are many other indicators that are missing. Accordingly, I do not think this is something I can talk about to support this theory. Okay. So I'm sitting here reading this. I'm like, okay, well, what are the many other indicators that are missing? Why does he not think this is evidence of a thermonuclear explosion? This guy, if anybody knows, clearly this guy would be the guy to talk to. So if he doesn't think so, why not? So I emailed him back. I can forget what I said, just something short. I'm like, okay, well, why not? You know, what are your thoughts? And so then I got another response from him. He says, Brian, there are many problems. Just because someone has chosen not to debate Dr. Brandenburg doesn't make him correct. For starters, I suggest you look at the xenon isotope ratios found at the site of the Oklo natural reactors. This is what is expected from uranium-235 fission. I'm like, okay, what the heck is he talking about? So I looked into this. As it turns out, in the country of Gabon, right here, there's I guess a town or a city of Oklo, Gabon, okay? There's a uranium mine in the country of Gabon. And it was discovered that in the 1970s, they discovered that millions of years ago, groundwater leaked into a uranium mine and started a natural nuclear reaction. And it didn't blow anything up. It just sort of started and then fizzled out. It all happened underground. Okay, and I looked into it and I asked Brandenburg about this, and Brandenburg responded, well, such a natural reactor would not have involved our process, but S-processed, using thermalized neutrons. S-processed does not produce excess of xenon-129. So I emailed this back to Dr. Bogalski saying, look, hey, Dr. Bogalski, this is a completely different thermonuclear reaction. What's your response? And I got crickets. Now, interestingly enough, years later, I see an interview online with Dr. Stephen Bogalski on BBC's Science Focus in the wake of Oppenheimer. They wanted to talk to a nuclear weapons guy about the science behind Oppenheimer. Look, could just one bomb destroy our planet? All right, because that was the fear in the movie, right? That was the fear. You guys remember this scene. Jason, Dave. We'll come back to you, Jason. Dave, you do Matt Damon, and I'll do Oppenheimer.
I think Dave's actually just stepped out for 1 second.
Yeah, Dave.
Okay.
Dave stepped away.
Oh, okay. All right. Megan, you do Matt Damon, and I'll do Oppenheimer. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
You start up here. What did Fermi?
What did Fermi mean by atmospheric ignition?
Well, we had a moment where it looked like the chain reaction from an atomic device might never stop setting fire to the atmosphere.
Why is Fermi still taking side bets on it?
Call it gallows humor.
Wait, are we saying that there's a chance that when we push that button, we'll destroy the world?
Nothing in our research over 3 years supports that conclusion, except it's the most remote possibility.
How remote?
Chances are near zero.
Near zero?
What do you want from theory alone?
0 would be nice.
Okay, so this was a funny moment in Oppenheimer, but this was a very real conversation because this is their fear, right? They've never done this before. They've never set off a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere. And so, fortunately, they ran the test, and it didn't destroy all life on Earth, thank God. All right. But back to this interview with Stephen Bogalski. Okay, quote, there was a fear that it would set, this is him talking about Oppenheimer, there's a fear that it would set the world on fire. This obviously did not happen, adds Bogalski. The density of fusible atoms and the energy balance prevent it from happening. In other words, the Trinity test did not have enough power to force hydrogen to undergo fusion. The atmosphere was not ignited in 1945. As for whether a theoretical maximum-sized nuclear weapon could destroy the world, Bogalski is uncertain. This is from the article. All I know is that I hope we never go there, he says. So he's not saying it's impossible. He's really not answering the question. Because they asked him, can this really happen? Can we really, is it possible to ignite the atmosphere of a planet? Can you set off a bomb so big that it starts fusing the atoms in the atmosphere? All right. So the Trinity test did not start atmospheric ignition because it simply wasn't powerful enough to do so. All right. So what Brandenburg's research indicates is that the atmosphere of Mars was ignited by thermonuclear detonation, but in order to do that, we need a lot of power. So how much energy are we talking about? To try to frame this, put some perspective behind this, the Hiroshima atomic bomb, what is that number? 100 million, billion, trillion? 6 to the power of 6 times 10 to the 13. What is that? 100 million, billion, 60 trillion joules of energy? That's a big number.
Shit. Wow. Damn.
Yeah, and it's just a fraction of what happened in Tunguska. So,
So if we were to try to compare this to, I don't have Tunguska, Ricardo, but I do have the meteor that is the Chicxulub impact.
oh, that's much bigger than Tunguska.
Okay, I don't even know what this number is, but it's 10
That
to the
looks like a
power.
Googleplex.
Right. All right.
What a number. Wow.
10 to the 23rd. Okay. So how much power? Brandenburg ran the numbers. How much power would be required to ignite the atmosphere of Mars?
Yeah.
10 to the 25.
Not much more.
Well, that's 2 orders of magnitude.
Magnitude, exactly.
Whatever caused the scar 100 times the size of the Grand Canyon or whatever it is.
Well, that's we'll come back to that in just a second, Dave, because it interestingly there's a crossover here between this field of research and the electric discharge we talked about last week, which I'll get to in a second here. But he tried to frame it thusly. Imagine if you stuck all of the world's nuclear weapons, you piled them up, it would essentially, you'd fill the entire Empire State Building with nuclear weapons. That's how much we're talking about here. So if you put them all in the Empire State Building, then dropped that and ignited that.
That might do it.
So now, interestingly, when they were doing nuclear weapons tests in the 20th century, they discovered a phenomenon where they discovered a lot. But interestingly, Dave, some nuclear weapons, some nuclear explosions actually produce lightning. And there's this really crazy video of this atmospheric test.
I see what you're doing. That's cool.
Okay. So who knows what kind of, if it really happened, who knows what kind of explosion it was, but it's theoretically possible to have electric discharge from a nuclear weapon. Either way,
As you might from a volcano, and you know that there is gigantic volcanoes in Mars.
Yes. Either way, if you look at the surface of Mars today, is it any wonder that it looks the way it does? Because undoubtedly, number one, you can see it's got impact craters all over the place. Okay? It's been bombarded with meteor impacts. I mean, some of these things are huge, bigger than what we see with Chicxulub, all right? And as we saw last time, it has electrical craters, electric discharge craters. It's got the giant scar. All of the stuff would have spewed rocks and debris just all over the planet. So when we look at rover photographs and we see just this wasteland with all this just scattered rocks, it starts to make sense. And then we factor in Brandenburg stuff like we're looking at just the remains of just a vast wasteland that has just been ruined by catastrophe after catastrophe. You know,
Yeah, but did Brandon? What is his name? Brander. I want to say this name correctly.
what?
The gentleman you're talking about, Brandenburg.
Brandenburg?
Brandenburg. He says that these two nuclear explosions are. He doesn't cite the name of the second location, but the first location he call it the Sidonian Sea event, and the other one is called Utopia event. I don't know if Utopia is a place on Mars. It would be interesting if it is, to see if we find something there. But it's Sidonia, where we know are these structures, this organization, this roads or cities that geometrically suggested. So it's not in anywhere in the planet is where we are finding these structures, and I think that's significant.
It is. Thank you, Ricardo. That's a very good point, actually. I'm glad you brought this up. Sidonia, where we see the face on Mars and the Dian Pyramid, is believed to be an ancient shoreline. We believed water was there, but it was a shoreline. And as we know here on Earth, people live on shorelines. They're very populated places. And the same thing for Utopia, same thing, is a shoreline. So indicating that these places were chosen because of their large populations. And actually, each one of the... Brandenburg actually goes one step further. Let me just back up a couple slides just to show this because it will make a little bit more sense. Okay. Well, I forget which is which. One is Sidonia and one is Utopia, which are actually located here and here. Okay? So these hotspots are northwest of each one of these shoreline places. But what Brandenburg says is that the winds blow this way on Mars. It blows southeast. So they detonated it here to maximize fallout, so the winds would have blown it down into these places. So yes, these places were significant in that way, Ricardo. Thank you. Getting back to... Okay, Mars was destroyed. So, Jason, we're going to pick up from Brandenburg's book. All right, so he's published all this data multiple times over. He's vetted this thing over years. I looked into it. I couldn't find anybody to dismiss these claims. So back to his book, Jason.
A deep chill ran through me. I began to shake after studying this, and I was overcome with emotion and broke down and cried like a child in the solitude of my office. Mars seemed to me at that moment like Alderaan in Star Wars, a helpless, primitive planet destroyed by powers beyond its comprehension. I knew I and my colleagues were under surveillance. Our phone lines had been tapped. Now I knew a dead civilization on Mars and the means of its demise was considered a national security matter.
Brandenburg has published books on this, a few of them at this point, but if you're going to read all this stuff, I recommend this one in particular. I read this and I stayed up for 3 nights. I couldn't fall asleep just because I was just so emotionally shaken by it. And he talks a lot about his personal history and getting involved with this Mars independent investigative team, which is what Richard Hoagland put together. Ricardo and I will probably do a show later on Richard Hoagland. So one way of looking at this is Mars, what we have here is a story that's not too dissimilar from Star Wars in our own backyard.
And it's interesting they call the planet Mars, which is the god of war. That's very interesting.
Yeah, but it would have different names in the past, right?
Oh, yes. It's very interesting.
No, it is.
Compelling.
They call it Mars because it was red to the naked eye, and therefore
Yes.
the color of blood, and so blood comes from war, and
Fire.
there's always some shred of connection to what really it was, right?
Mm.
I think it's beyond a little coincidental. I think it's maybe, who knows, divine comedy at work. But I agree with you, Jean, that we're talking about it being destroyed by war, and somehow it becomes, Mars is the god of war. That's a bit much for my liking.
And
There's a theory that, sorry, Ricardo, there's a theory that Mars was a moon of a larger planet
Yeah.
that was blown up and it formed the asteroid belt.
Yep.
And Mars was sort of struck on the side. You can see the one moon of Mars, Phobos, is also sort
It's
of,
all.
yeah,
It's like a
been
jelly bean.
yeah, Phobos and Deimos are probably two pieces of the planet.
Yeah.
That were
And it's
captured
not
by it.
totally proven, but it's a very interesting hypothesis.
I'm still stuck on the magnitude of those numbers when it comes to the energy. Like those aren't even numbers like we have words for. So I got to use 25 to the whatever. It's hard for a human brain to wrap their mind around. When you're talking about energetic systems of the solar system, that must have had a huge impact on the entire solar system in a lot of different ways. Olek did a presentation for me in an episode with me that talks a little bit about some of that, but I can just imagine the dramatic impact it had on everything, geology, life, the everything in the solar system must have totally changed.
Yes, while there was this presentation, I was just skimming through. There is a great book by Tom Van Flandern, Dark Matter, Missing Planets, and New Comets. And he wants, to actually describe the entire solar system with this theory about missing planet that was destroyed and that created Mars and a few other stuff. So I can highly recommend. I was just, checking what he has to say about Mars. Unfortunately, a little, but as you, John, said that he thinks that Mars was a part of this missing planet just as the asteroid belt. So maybe something like that. And I remember I read it a few years ago. He is tracing this, I think, 3 million years ago, approximately, this event. And he is searching for some kind of effects of this event on the entire solar system, as you, Dave, said. And I haven't found it yet, but I wonder how can we see that, because it could it could result in even our planet. Maybe there was some kind of cataclysm, or we have these extinctions that are cyclical. Maybe one of them was this cosmic event. Because maybe even if it was, let's say, just Mars and just it's kind of a cataclysm local just to Mars, not like an extra planet or something, could it lead to some kind of a cataclysm here on Earth? Or maybe like the end of the Younger Dryas or something, end of the last ice age? Maybe there is some kind of correlation, who knows?
Yeah, I've heard Tom Van Flandert. I have heard his name come up from time to time, actually stemming from my contacts in the Electric Universe community. Someone I haven't really had a chance to do a deep dive on. As I understand from the Electric Universe community, there's a lot of data that indicates the solar system a very long time ago was in a completely different configuration, and that planets have somehow changed orbits and passed by one another, and there's even
Velikovsky.
yes, ancient mythological texts that indicate that people here on Earth actually saw these planets much closer to Earth in the sky, interacting with each other, perhaps even discharging between each other. I don't know a whole lot about it to be able to. Yes, Velikovsky. A lot of it stems from Velikovsky. The Thunderbolts channel has picked up from where Velikovsky left off and sort of developed it even further. You know, and so undoubtedly, I think Electric Universe is onto something there, and I'm not exactly sure if that. I think all that was happening, but I don't know if Dave and Megan, if you got into with Dr. Allison, if you got into the galactic war stuff. So it just seems like there's a whole lot of stuff that we can pull from these mythological sources, quote unquote, that we can pull from metaphysical analysis. All I'm saying is that the data supports all this stuff. And so as it relates to messaging to the public, I got to stick with the data first. As I start to understand these more esoteric, woo-woo kind of stuff, I think there's something to it. I just don't know it well enough to really message on it.
There's a Joseph Campbell quote, I think I'm attributing it correctly, that said, "Myth is real, myth is true, more real than history, because history is simply journalism, and we all know how reliable that is." To your point, there is so much to these old stories that we discount too readily, and these stories about destruction of these planets point to what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put I don't say it's not true, but I would be surprised if it was, because I'm not a creationist, so the Earth is not 6,000 years old. But when we are talking about 3 million, it's too far away for us to find anything. It's too far away. It's just, it would be nothing left. Everything would be grinded by time. So
If yes, under normal atmospheric conditions, but on Mars we have the quote unquote benefit of having a nearly stripped away atmosphere, and everything has just thus been preserved.
yeah, but impacts, nuclear explosions, and so on and so forth. So it all of those things would take a toll, and the atmosphere is not there now. But when was it taken? That is my point. Was it 30,000 years ago? Was it 3 million years ago? Right. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a good question, and Brandenburg's best calculations were that it was taken 200 million years ago.
It's too far off to me.
Look, I know it sounds crazy. I don't have any data to really talk about. He's just using basically isotopic decay to try to figure this out. It's really,
yeah, but that decay is based on a level of power that he can understand.
I don't think he's firm on it, Ricardo. It's the like he's the only one who's been studying this. If we had a room full of people on this sort of thing, maybe we would have a better idea.
Sure.
If it's even 10% as far back as he says, let's just say it's not 200. Let's just say it's not 100. Let's just say it's 1 million years ago. That's still a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Even here on Earth, 1 million years, we have barely a concept of what the Earth was like even back then. What about 500,000 years ago? What if it's only been like that for 500,000 years? I'm not exactly sure, but still, it's a very long time. And if we were to try to fit that into our own human timeline here on Earth, it still gives it plenty of time for things to transfer from there to here.
Keep in mind that we still have myths and legends about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can't be that old, right? Because otherwise we'd be completely lost. It can't be that old because we still have myths and legends.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you were showing us those magnitudes of power, those are magnitudes of power from bombs to impacts. What is the magnitude of power of a whole planet? Right? It's not an impact of a meteorite or a comet, is an impact from an actual planet, right? So that would change completely the ratios. It would change completely any extrapolation that we can make into numbers, because there is not enough zeros to make it.
I know.
Right? Because even if we concentrated all the nuclear bombs that we have and double it 10 times, it wouldn't scratch the Earth. It just wouldn't.
I take your point though with regard to the legends and the myths and the eyewitness testimony, like what was written in the past about aliens coming to Earth and starting up civilization, all that kind of stuff. Like if it's within some semblance of what we call
the appearance of the moon is on myths and legends. We didn't have a moon, and suddenly we have a moon. Right?
I know, man. Look, that's what we're all here to try to figure out. Look, we're just searching for answers, and
of course, anything is possible. We don't know the truth, and we won't find it, but at least we could look for it and gain a little bit more land as we conquer it.
Infer. That's all we can do.
Just to wrap up, like Brandenburg has been the only person pursuing this, so I think he deserves our
of course
our respect. And I really want to try to do to help him promote his work. He's still with us today. It's just been unfortunate that he's just been marginalized. There's this interesting moment in the documentary where I discovered that, once he found out all this out, he went to his contact at the Pentagon. He's like, hey, I just figured all this stuff out about Mars. You guys should know this. And the Pentagon said, just publish the data. Because he thinks that they just wanted to get this out, but they didn't really want to be responsible for telling the people. Because
heralds of the information.
This is frightening stuff. So no one wants to talk about it. NASA didn't want to go on camera with me. Where Brandenburg got his degree, Lawrence Livermore Nuclear Laboratory, they didn't want to go on camera with me. I emailed NATO, they didn't respond back to me. Bogowski didn't want to go on camera with me. JPL didn't want to go on camera with me.
You put nuclear on the text, and it's a no-no.
Look, if this is an important question, I think our institutions should address. And if there's a conventional explanation for these isotopes, then let's have it. But I haven't found it yet. And I want to. I'm. If anyone out there can refute this stuff, and people try, they'll say, "Oh, well, that's just natural decay from iodine."
Yeah, degassing. The academia considers that it can in Mars it was produced, but high volcanic activity, very fast accretion of the planet, and heavy degassing, and then the fading of the atmosphere enriched the remaining isotopes and created this anomaly that we see today. This is their official explanation.
Yeah, and it's not the decay of iodine that did this, because we would see the same thing on other planetary bodies in the solar system. So obviously Mars experienced something dramatically different. Anyway,
they argue that if it was a nuclear explosion, you will find other isotypes aside from the levels of thorium or aside from the levels of xenon 129, and that's their main argument, and that's where they destroyed, between commas, Brandenburg. It's with that question: where are the other isotopes, Brandenburg? Where are they? And he can't answer.
Would the time scale of 200 million years have any effect on what isotopes we're finding?
They keep enriching as the atmosphere disappears. They keep concentrating.
Well, I'd be interested to know. I haven't seen that argument yet, Ricardo. So specifically, what they're asking for, because every time I see somebody putting forth an explanation or counter argument, I run it by Brandenburg, and he's already put thought into it, and he can explain it away. So if there's anything out there, I call him up and I talk about it with him. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's just this." The levels of nitrogen 15, that's another indicator too. So anyway, I put this out there. It's
there is something here. There is something definitely here.
Something happened. It's just frightening no matter what you look at it. So you know, I felt like this story really needed to be told. And I mean, if this is true, then like, who did it? Did they do it to themselves? Did somebody else do it? Why?
And if it was like the natural reactor on Earth that you showed, that they say work for 2 million years or 2 billion years, I'm not sure now how long you say that it was at work, and created only like 560 watts in their calculation, just something minimal in terms of energy. That's their interpretation of it. But even if they were real, why are we finding possible signs of civilization exactly on top of these hotspots? It wouldn't be the best place to create a civilization atop a highly natural nuclear reactor. It's easier to say that those places were selected to be destroyed than that people were. This is just assumptions, right? We are just evaluating assumptions. And in the logic of things, it makes more sense that it was two places that were chosen to be destroyed than two civilizations that decided to build near or on top of natural nuclear reactors, because that's what they're called, natural nuclear reactors, right? So from the law of probability and logic, I think the most logical one is that they were destroyed.
And keep in mind, there's two major hotspots here, and then there's one on the opposite side of the planet. These things the shockwave wrapped itself around the planet, collided with itself, and made another hotspot. NASA doesn't talk about this stuff. The data is theirs. Like, all this is sourced from their own data. They just don't talk about it. They've made such magnificent discoveries that
they still deny that the asteroid belt was ever a planet. They still deny it. They still say that what remains when we agglomerated all the pieces that we've seen from the asteroid belt, it would make a very small planet. Yeah, because when it explodes, most of it disappears in space that has no friction. Everything disappears.
Somebody literally said that in the chat, that the asteroid belt doesn't have enough debris to
Yeah, that's
form a
completely
planet.
wrong. I'm sorry, that's completely wrong. Explode something in space and tell me what mass do you remain near the point of explosion, because everything is pushed out and doesn't stop until it hits a planet or continues traveling, right? So
anyway, that concludes the catastrophism presentation here. John did have a few. Go ahead, John. Dave.
I wanted to frame quickly. I think we should bring in the metaphysical aspect of this maybe next time.
Next time. Yeah.
Because it does. And look, it's out there stuff, okay? Megan and I learned a lot from Alison Brown yesterday. Was that yesterday?
It was, and we had like a few misconnections with her, but so worth the wait to get to finally talk with her yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, but there are, and look, I don't know if I believe any of this stuff necessarily, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people alive on this planet today who believe they can channel the ancient past and channel and have conversations with beings of higher levels of consciousness who've explained all this stuff to them, and there was a galactic war and things like that. And I'm not getting all this right, but what I garnered was that there was a civilization on Mars that was destroyed. Humans escaped Mars and ended up on Earth, and the structures we see, like the pyramids and whatnot, were put into place on Earth to create the environment to grow our consciousness and keep our biology stable and things like that, in order to restart what humans used to be on Mars. And supposedly, and again, guys, I don't know if I believe all this stuff, but supposedly there are people on this planet today who are still in connection with these beings, and like it goes all the way up to the top of way above the government's head and things like that. And we do have data that Brian just presented that would not back up all that extra stuff, but it backs up the fact that something fucking massive happened and changed Mars, and then Earth became Earth. And then we've got all the myths of aliens and entities coming down or coming from somewhere and helping us build a civilization. So it lines up. It's just a lot. It's a lot, and it's a lot to think about, and it's a lot to process. And some of it might be true, some of it might not. I really don't know, but it's really fun to think about. And so I think we should. I think we should talk about that next time. I just don't know. We would need the right person, and I don't know if Allison would be the right person or what.
Well, well, Dave, I do have a short presentation on metaphysical that we could do next time, but ultimately it would be nice to bring in some of these experts to sort of have the
Brandenburg, Dr. Allison Brown,
Brandenburg, Allison, all these guys, Barry and other folks, just be like, hey, let's poke and prod. I've asked them a bunch of questions, but you guys should have the opportunity to ask them direct questions too. So it's just not all coming from me. But I think we should ultimately start having some guests on. I just want to get everybody here kind of caught up to speed to see the whole picture. I've been working on this for years now, but we all have our daily lives, and you guys have all your other personal interests and other things. And with Mars, there's a whole lot to sort of soak in. As you said, Dave, it's a lot. And what do you do with it? I'm just trying to see what the connection points are, because when I'm looking at this stuff, I'm like, you know what? This stuff relates to the ancient civilization stuff that people are focused on here on Earth. And I'm putting out a video next week about all the magnificent finds of UFOs that Jean and this other guy Joe White has found that just look like the gimbal UFO. So.
You showed one or two in here in the show. Two
Yeah.
or three shows back. Yeah.
I have. I just sort of put it all together in one video and sort of added some new things in there, because I'm not convinced that these are camera artifacts or dust on lens or cosmic ray bursts or dead pixels or anything like that. And I address all that stuff, and I'm like, I think what we're left with is legitimate photographs of UFOs. You guys saw them, and they look just like the gimbal. So anyway. We sort of went all that. So there are these nexus points within these existing very popular communities, and I think there's a way to tie it all together. And for the people who are just so hyper focused on the Great Pyramid and the dating of it, them not having the context that there's also pyramids on Mars, I think they're missing a part of the story, that when you reconcile that first, but that's the challenge, is just getting people to accept that we have pyramids on Mars. Because I show a split screen do a comparison, say the pyramid John found with Teotihuacan, it looks just like it. People are like, that doesn't look like a pyramid, that's just pareidolia, you're seeing things. But we've got dozens of other examples of straight things 2 miles long. Gary was on here showing his stuff. We've got plenty of this stuff, and seriously, you guys haven't even seen most of it, but because there's it's only so much time in the world. But getting people to just see the obvious, to accept what their eyes are telling them, I think is part of the challenge in even beginning to approach the subject of, well, the civilization started on Mars first. First, we got to get over this whole I don't believe these things are pyramids thing, which is going to take a while.
Well, look at all the building blocks I've discovered.
Yeah,
Huge
I don't think
magnet.
it's a reach. I really don't. I think all of this fits so well, man, into what already exists with what people think and believe about a former civilization on Earth, right? And you mentioned the text, the Sumerians, that all mention something coming from either the sea or from the air, from away. And sometimes they're giants, they're slightly bigger. We know on Mars, these structures are so much bigger than their correlating structures here on Earth, right? It fits. So what happens if they blow themselves up, right? The gods of war, they come here, and then we have them establish something much like that here that was then destroyed with the destruction, right, of the Younger Dryas. So that then when we see these walls at Peru and we see these pyramids, we are seeing the small echoes of what the humans who remained and some of whatever else remained after the destruction could try to put together to show what once was. It fits. You know,
Jason,
I'm not
that-
saying it's the truth, but it fits quite well into existing theories about lost civilization.
And that's perfect, because now that all the institutions are closed, all the asylums have been closed, all those thousands of peoples that Dave mentioned, all of us have to find something to do with our time. So this is an excellent way for us that are crazy to explore all of these topics.
That's what we were talking about.
It's
because
not
we're about-
crazy, you know. That's
We're
the
about
thing.
to lose about 60 to 70% of people are going to lose their job and have a shitload of access to the internet and AI all at the same time. And so I think it might be time for everyone to start working together and trying to answer some of these questions, because AI is coming, and it's not going to need us.
No.
But it'll open the door for us to explore a lot of this shit together, like we're already doing.
Well,
We're
we
talking
need
about
to
destruction, and there were air bursts in South Carolina this week, y'all. Did you hear about
There was
that?
air,
the whole
there was
state.
air bursts in
Yeah.
in Massachusetts, in Boston
As well. Yes.
Happening now, still happening, you know.
The booms are back. Remember, they were happening during the lockdown as well.
They were.
Yeah, no one knew where they were coming from.
They still don't know.
Yes. That's weird.
Well, it's that we don't have eyes on like the entire sky, like at all. So we can get hit by something almost any time. Like big stuff we could typically detect, but these smaller airbursts and stuff, we've got no.
I think we are at 15% or something like that, or 17% of these objects mapped. So
Which is very little, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, right?
it's a miracle. Every single second that this planet exists is a miracle.
Exactly.
Because the amount of stuff that is out there going at incredible speeds,
Right.
coming from nowhere because we can't see them, especially if they're coming from behind the sun. It's a miracle we are here. It's just unbelievable. The odds are completely against us, and yet here we are. So,
Well, even that 17%, it's not like we can do anything about it when we see it, you know?
no, the only thing we can do about it is say, "Oh, it's coming."
Yeah, it's coming. Head for the hills or your bunkers if you're a billionaire.
Light them if you got them, boys.
Yeah.
It's just a ride.
Yeah.
Well, everything about it. Our moon is a miracle.
I know.
Yeah, but that is too much of a miracle.
It's also an anomalous miracle.
There's no great explanation for it at all. That like it if it was any different at all, life wouldn't exist the way we know it. So
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
without it, no life forms could actually evolve into anything, because the rotation was extremely fast before the, according to what they tell us, the rotation was extremely fast. The winds were above 500 miles an hour. The tides were insane because of the speed of the Earth, and that would prevent any vegetation to grow tall, any animals to really evolve into something that was worth to notice. And then suddenly there appears this moon, the exact size and slows the Earth, which is, when you have an object coming towards you, it doesn't stop and then decide what speed it should go to contradict your speed, right? That's Oumuamua territory. So in all of it, the fact that it's mostly empty inside, according to the seismographic testing, although they don't like to admit it, but it's mostly hollow, right? The fact that it has this fine dust on top of it, but no one knows what's under it, right? You can look for any test that be done. They have no idea what's under it. It's just this fine dust and these crumbled rocks. and these huge structures that no one talks about made of glass, beams made of glass, towers made of glass, enormous domes made of glass, because glass, when it's made in the absence of oxygen, is stronger than steel. So it's ideal to be on space. Glass is a wonderful material, after all. It's not as brittle as we think. It's only brittle here because we mix it with oxygen. And on this, let me just rant this tiny bit, 30 seconds, about the trailers they show us about the life on Moon, the habitats, the rovers that they just approved, this company that won the award for making the rovers for them, and so on and so forth. If you see the trailers, you see these rovers going through the moon with this cocktails. Is that what you say? The dust coming into, what is the name in English?
Contrails.
No, the dust coming from the wheels up. Cocktails.
I don't know if
No one is saying what I'm saying.
Smoke.
I don't know what you call it.
Okay, if you've seen the trailer, you see the wheels of the rovers, and they're sending dust into the air, like the sand, and making this dust projections backwards. Right?
Yeah.
That's completely against science. There is no air on the moon. Nothing can get out of the surface. It's compacted by the absence of air. You can't even make a print in it. It's rock solid unless there is air. And if there is air, there is
a thin atmosphere on the moon.
If it is air, then you can put some molecules of air between the dust grains, and then it can move. Right? But
There is a
Rooster tails. Yep.
on the moon. I don't know what it consists of, but there is a very thin atmosphere on the moon.
wouldn't be enough to cause that. It has to be much bigger than they tell us to do that. That's why they go to the valleys, because the air pressure is stronger in there, and so there's bigger concentration. It requires less heavy suits and so on and so forth, so that the weight of a man is exactly as it weighs on Earth. That's why they go specifically to these places where they can use lighter equipment, and so that the weight of a man there is exactly the same, 160 pounds, 170, even with the suit dress on. That's why I think it's John Mitchell, when he was asked to jump, everybody was expecting him to jump 30 feet into the air. He jumps exactly the same that a person would jump on Earth. Exactly the same. So it's about a palm and a half. That's what he managed to jump into the air. And this is all in the footage. So a lot doesn't click correct about the moon. And I think they'll have a few surprises, because I think there's not even this organization know these things about the moon.
Sean, you ready, buddy?
Yeah, I'm ready to share.
All right. This is for those who haven't watched us before. We always do an artifact presentation from Jean, where he shows us different artifacts he's found in his pictures.
Right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we got you.
Are you going to go full screen or?
Yeah,
It's full screen
we're
already.
full screen.
Oh,
I
okay.
wonder what it looks like here. That's okay, I think.
All right. The sources are listed again for those that want to follow along afterwards to go and verify the photography I'll be showing you. Right. The first artifact we'll be looking at is a strange cylindrical type of artifact. Can you guys spot it? This is a sand dune, and the rover's just driven through the
Dave,
sand dune.
Dave, can you take away the our thumbnails for just a second for this? Thank you.
Got
Go
it.
ahead, John.
Yeah, the rover's just disturbed the sand dune, and it's uncovered something. Can you guys see it?
Down at the bottom. Yep.
Okay. There's a little bit of a closer look. And as always, I'm showing you conventional magnification versus deconvoluted upscaling. And there it is up close. And in the NASA photograph, you can see the wheel of the rover Just go back. It's over here. Can you see where my mouse is?
This is a rover photograph?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I thought this was an orbiter photograph.
No, there's the wheel. Can you see it to the bottom?
Yeah.
And there's the other one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that object there is about, I'd say, 3 or 4 inches long. And look at the slots on it,
Yeah.
how evenly they are spaced.
Yeah, like teeth on a mechanical device.
Yeah. Almost like a rivet. You know, when you rivet something, that piece that pops out, it's got those grooves on it.
Oh yeah, see, yep.
But this is big. This is long. I'd say it's about 3 or 4 inches long. If you compare it to the size of the wheels in the photograph. And nothing was ever said about this. It's very strange. Then there's the Perseverance rover. That was from the Curiosity rover. Yeah, the Perseverance has driven over this like slate, and it's cracked up the surface, and it uncovered something. Can you guys see it? Shall I zoom in?
It looks like a bracket. Like a door hinge, yeah.
It looks like a spent cartridge. I don't know what else to call it. It looks like a copper tube that's been pinched at the ends.
Yeah, that's how I describe it. And if it's in any way attached to that flat plate, you know, that's what made me say hinge originally, but it definitely looks tubular.
Interesting.
And I don't know how big this is. I'd
Look at all the
say
types of rocks.
it's small. I wouldn't say it's very large. Also about 2 to 3 inches long, if it's that long. But it's small. It's a small little item. But look at the tube-like appearance. It's round.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like a perfect cylinder. It looks like it was molded, like I would say, from clay or something. Like if I would make a tube, you see it on the like bottom part of it, that it's not like perfectly straight tube, at least from what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. To me, it looks like a piece of copper pipe that's been pinched on either side, if you know what I mean.
Even that first rock under it is very strange with that angle that seems to be apparent. You know, if it's a rock even, it just seems to be the same material as the rocks, but it's odd.
All right, the next one. The rover Curiosity photographed these. Check this out. Look at those right angles. Uniform thickness. Straight edges. And there's 2 blocks, the one underneath and this one lying on top.
John, can you go back to the comparison for a second on this one? I mean, the upscale here makes these things look just pristine, which is great. But you know, we wouldn't be focused on these things if they didn't present as anomalous in just the conventional magnification. Just looking at the regular photo, I mean, just the uniform thickness here and the right angles, and just how dissimilar to everything else around it. You know, who knows what the hell it is? It just sticks out.
Yeah,
there's
and it looks like it is broken, like you see the right part.
Yeah.
Like you could break a tile or something.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
thinking.
And how large these things are, I'm not sure. If I look at other rover photographs, I'd say these things are about 1 foot by 1 foot in size.
So we
Then
got
there's
We got a pareidolia comment.
I saw that.
Debris. Now, I'm going more with Thoth the Atlantean, piece of debris, man. I mean, it looks like somebody blew up a marbled structure like the Parthenon, and then some winds and, some effect blew some sand over it. That's my
Yeah. And there's even a tube-like part here. Can you see my mouse right in the center?
Yeah.
That could be pareidolia for sure.
And yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it's okay to consider pareidolia when we're looking at this stuff, right? But you can't just go pareidolia, pareidolia, pareidolia for everything on Mars, because the more images we see, the more you realize that's impossible. It can't all be pareidolia.
And just on that point, just to piggyback on that, Jean and I have behind the scenes conversations with other folks in the community where we're tossing around some photos just between us Mars guys and be like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And half the time, Jean and I are like, yeah, there's nothing there, man. You're just sort of making something out of nothing. And so we will invoke pareidolia quite often behind the scenes.
Also, before we continue with the other one, do we have such rocks that are so like slim, tile-like, and because I can't remind myself of such rocks, because you see it's uniform with uniform slimness, like a piece of building block or like a tile we've mentioned. So
Yeah.
I don't think we know of such rocks like that.
Yeah, on Earth, yeah. Check these out.
Yeah,
Also
this is
taken by the rover Curiosity.
This looks like a structure that was knocked down. Everything around it.
Again, there is a purpose for these photos, and that purpose is beside the point of showing the soil of Mars. They are studying other things that they are not telling us.
This one's about as big as a brick, because this was taken by the cam. So these aren't that huge. Not as big as the ones we saw previously. So you can pick this thing up. It's like a brick, if you know what I mean, that size. Check it, the uniform thickness, the right angles, parallel with one another.
And plaster on top of it. Looks like it has plaster on top of it. So.
What were you going to say, Megan?
Yeah.
So just like a lot of right angles I'm seeing.
Yeah, several.
Like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's hard to tell with the other ones at the top, but still.
The layers on the top and the bottom. Sorry, go ahead, Megan.
Oh, I was gonna say it looks like something you'd see at like a garden supply store. Like
Right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and in the bottom left here, go back. In the bottom left here, this one seems to be standing up on its side a little bit, like the one in the top right as well, which is weird.
Yes, I thought those were interesting to show you guys.
It's like they got washed there, by that. It's just the appearance of it. It's the layers on that one piece, man. See how the outer layers are the same thickness as well? That's just too
right. Like
too
it's
weird.
got a casing around it or something.
Right.
Everyone say hi to Sarah. She's in the chat. Hey,
Hi, Sarah.
Welcome, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello, Sarah.
Someone blew up the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah, that's what it looks like, as if someone blew up the Georgia Guidestones.
This reminds me of plaster. Plaster or cement.
Even the bottom one that has that small, exactly, that crown, that one has layers. If you look at the bottom left, the same stone, it has a layer underneath. Of course, if you ask a geologist, he will say all of this is possible geologically. Well, maybe it is, but it's too much of a coincidence, right?
When you build a brick wall, you put plaster or cement in between the bricks. When you break that wall down, you get some bricks where a lot of the cement is removed, but then you get corners where the cement still sticks. You've got to knock off with a chisel.
Well,
that's what this reminds me of.
There are sites here on Earth that we consider or ask the question of, is this man-made, that are less compelling than this?
Yeah.
Like
No
Bimini
doubt,
Road. Like Bimini
No
Road is, I know it's underwater, but it's less compelling than that. there's parts of Yonaguni that are less compelling than that. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Adam Bridge.
This was discovered by Billy Carson. Am I right, Brian?
Billy Carson posted this on Twitter. He didn't attribute any discoverer, so we're just going to say that Billy found it. I don't know if he discovered it or not, but we'll just give credit to him for today.
Check this piece out, guys.
Oh, that's a great message. Thanks,
It's
Richard.
It's a flat rectangular piece lying on top of this odd item. You can walk in underneath this. Well, crawl through there. This is interesting as well.
Yeah. It's very thin towards the left, and then towards the back it looks like it's thicker. I don't know.
This is hard to explain geologically. That one
If
is
you
very
look at-
hard to explain.
Yeah, if you look at the layers here in the foreground, they also look rather interesting, but that could be natural. But that piece there, is it part of a structure, or is it a piece of these layers we see that broke off?
And going
And
up?
through some type of movement, it ended up sort of, resting up on
On
that.
top of a flower pot shaped
don't know.
object.
Right.
Yeah, but he couldn't fell there very hard because it's very thin. It would break. So
Yeah.
it couldn't be placed there with great violence. It has to be a different
Yeah.
process.
Was it placed there, or
A slide or
How does something weather like that? And just even the flower pot. I didn't even see that before, but
Where's the flower pot?
just the tip. It looks like a tipped over flower pot.
It's just the shape of the
Oh,
thing that it's
gotcha.
resting on. I was calling it a flower pot, a vase, something.
Yeah, that's so thin, Ricardo, at the top of this piece that it's not like it would have blown up and slammed on top of that.
no.
It would have shattered. It's weird that it's in place like that.
You can have this with schist, although we can't know what type of stone that is. In schist, you could make this very thin, how you call it, slates of stone, but it to be placed like that, it has to be slide from somewhere. I don't see from where it could have slide into that.
Weird.
it's a very, very intriguing piece.
It is.
Then this is a Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter photograph. So this is photographed from orbit. And I focused in on this item, which is about 10 meters by 10 meters in size. So that's about what, 30 feet by 30 feet?
33 feet, yeah.
Check out the multiple right angles here.
So we talked a little bit about these last time. These stones with smaller stones on top. I got a comment which Jean will bring up in a second. There's a guy on Instagram who had a comparison that I thought maybe we should just at least consider. He sent me these photographs here.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. That looks familiar. This is Peru, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tiwanaku, Bolivia.
Bolivia.
Oh, Bolivia. Yeah. So same civilization. Yeah. As soon as I looked at that one, I thought that looks like something I've seen on Earth, like
It's
a
kind
of-
man-made structure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't compare it to Tiwanaku, but I would compare it to, for instance, the Baltic Sea anomaly, Yaguni, and
Yonaguni.
Yonaguni, yeah.
Yonaguni,
Just
and,
mentioning that in the chat. Yeah.
and to the structures that they used to build, supposedly from Egyptian influence, that are this kind of stones. You also see them in South America, but we see them a lot of in Iberia. Not the ones like you're showing that is blocks of stone taken out of the bedrock, but they are more horizontal and then carved on top. Very
Yeah.
Very intriguing.
Very.
And it reminds me. I don't know. This is 10 by 10. You say, right? 32 feet.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think we should look for structures. Consider this stone a map, right? Because you find these types of stones in South America where they draw the maps of the area. So we have a very famous one that has all the hydrology of the area. I can't remember the name right now. So I would try the hypothesis of considering this a map and looking it from much higher above and see if we can match it with the landscape somehow.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I don't
We
see
remember that it could be turned in a completely different position, right?
Yes.
I'm with Wood Pit there that just commented that is very strange if it's erosion. That's not erosion.
No, it
You
doesn't
don't
look
have to
like
be
it.
a geologist to say that.
Yeah,
Like-
it's just older.
Jean, go back to the comparison for a second. So yeah, right there. Even on the no. Yeah, this one here. Even on the conventional magnification, the more blurry one, you can still see on the lower right portion two obvious square depressions
Yes.
that just look weird, man. You know, do rocks normally do that? It's awfully strange.
No. If it was on Earth, it would consider to be something that was natural but transformed by man.
Yeah, no matter the size, even if I found that in a hand-sized rock, dude, like out in the creeks, that video I made last week. I mean, you're
Yeah.
gonna be looking for that doesn't happen naturally.
Isn't
And is there
absolute,
any-
but it's a possibility. Yeah.
And also, is there any significance to the fact this thing looks like it's in a circular pit?
Yeah.
Well, there is a sand dune on either side. It could be wind erosion around it.
Yeah, but it's not around the other ones.
It is on the other one
On
above.
the other big one, up there.
I think it's a phenomenon very simple to the one that exists in the United States where the rocks move. It's related to that place where it freezes, and then even the slightest breeze can move the stone and create, as it moves, it keeps creating that depression. That would be an explanation by geologists.
Yes. Alternatively, someone removed the sand around it. I don't know.
That leads back to Ricardo's map theory that if a survivor had come and was clearing out some of these more dramatic pieces, I mean,
Yes. I don't know if I've got. No, that's it. That concludes my presentation.
So
You want to look at anything presented before I end?
no, I think we're good, John.
So there are these sources.
bravo, sir.
Some of these, Jean has published on. Some of them we're not so sure about, but it's awfully nice just being able to toss these out. You guys take a look at them, help us figure some of the stuff out. We don't have the benefit of putting boots on the ground there and getting a closer look. So all we have is these photographs, and when you put these photographs in front of people who haven't been looking into any of this stuff like this group has, immediately they want to go to pareidolia. Immediately they just reject the idea outright because it's on Mars. It can't possibly be what it looks like because it's on Mars. And I get that. I was there myself. And if it's just the one example and you got nothing else, like, sure, you can't really attribute much value in that. But as you guys have clearly seen, we've taken you through it. We've got photographs of all sorts of stuff. Not all of it you can explain with geology or pareidolia. And given the history of catastrophe on this planet and how long ago it might have been, it's a miracle that any of this stuff has survived. So none of it's going to be in pristine shape. But when you do see something that just looks out of place, it's non-fractal, it just doesn't look like Mother Nature made it, and you see a variety of different stuff, it's not just the one thing, and it starts to paint a very different picture of Mars. So I feel like when you get, a planetary geologist who goes on TV and says, that doesn't look like a pyramid to me because it's not in perfect condition. Well, did you factor in how old it could be?
Show
For
one
any
in
of
the
these
Earth that
things.
is in perfect condition.
Exactly. So, like, what do you expect just an artifact to look like if you dig it out of the ground? It ain't going to be in perfect condition. Like, the Viking swords that they might find that have been encrusted in shit, right? You got to clean it off. It doesn't look pristine. It may never look pristine, but you're intelligent enough to know that it's not a rock. So the lack of compensation, they're not compensating for how old or how weathered it could be. And then when you present the totality of evidence,
Because they're not there to evaluate it according to their expertise. They're there just to contradict it.
Yep.
Right? Because we see this because they don't even speculate.
Right.
A comment was made, can we bring a accredited geologist to the next discussion?
Oh, we'd love to. Where is he?
Do you know of any that would do that, Brian?
Well, Megan had an idea to bring on Danny. Do you think he might be interested in joining us?
I think it might just depend on what the time of day
time
is.
zone.
Tunisia. That might be a bit tricky. I think for it to work for him, it's either like really early or really late.
Okay.
At least for my time, which would be like way later than now. So we'd have to see it with Danny, but hopefully at some point that would be really cool.
When I interviewed him, it was 8 a.m. So I think we could maybe do an 8 p.m. with him. I don't know.
Potentially.
Or Megan, how often do you talk with him?
It depends on how things are moving along, but we keep in touch.
Okay. Another idea is to just sort of do I don't know if you've spoken to him about any of this stuff. He might not want to be involved because it's completely different.
Yes, I was going to ask, is he
Danny's not
familiar
afraid
with
to be a
this?
heretic. Danny is no problem speaking his mind generally.
Well, ever we work it out, we could either try to do it live or maybe you do a one-on-one with him and just we play back a recording or something. We could talk about options.
Yeah, you
or
could
something.
send us some stuff to look over with him and we could get his opinion worst case.
Yeah, I mean, whatever makes sense. But yeah, I think that'd be a pretty cool idea to do because the idea is not just to build a coalition of like-minded Mars enthusiasts, but it's really to invite the people from these other communities that we've been talking about. Hey,
yes.
You UFO people, look, we've got UFOs on Mars happening today. While we're looking to the U.S. government, give us what you got, right? NASA's just been releasing it. They just be publishing it. No one's noticing. No one's paying attention except for John and Joe White. Okay? And oh my God, we've got some great quality stuff over here. It looks just like this stuff, So there's a nexus point there that needs to grow, a coalition that can grow there, and with the ancient civilization crowd, I think there's ways of that's you guys are in there, and I think there's just ways of connecting with these people, and the hurdle is the Mars part. It's a different planet. We can't possibly accept that there's a history there that we need to pay attention to. And, we're breaking new ground here.
Well, I also think you're going to get this when it comes to geology. This comment here: erosion and geology happens different on Mars, and you can't make the comparisons. You're going to hear that, which there's some validity to, by the way.
What about Scott Walter? Isn't he a forensic geologist?
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Yes, yes. But I don't think he will engage in Mars things.
He might.
Only one way to find out.
I can definitely ask him, but
You can. It doesn't hurt.
I don't know if this is if erosion, large scale, time scale erosion is his specialty.
Well,
The problem. Sorry. This is this. The problem with him is that this is all photographs.
Right.
He's a touch guy.
that's
He interprets
true,
things
too.
by touching them, testing them.
I do want to credit though just the folks here, okay? Because Dave, had it not been for you and I connecting, like Ricardo, you were ahead of the game. You're already looking at this stuff. You already knew about Hoagland. You already knew all this stuff. Like you were ahead of everybody on this. John, you were ahead of me on this. Then I got into it, and then I met Dave, and I'm like, Dave, I'm seeing some awfully strange things on Mars. Or Dave saw the documentary, and then we did it, and then I said, yeah, there's this new guy, John, who's finding some interesting things, and then Dave sort of opened it up to everybody else. Jason, Ricardo got you into it. So it's like when you have somebody you trust bring you information. Human beings are funny creatures. It's the messaging and the messenger often make a great deal of difference, because if someone you don't know is coming to you, like any I got into it a little bit with this guy Neil, the Gnostic informant. He did the Dan the Debunker debate on Matt Bell recently. And he's never heard of any of this Mars stuff, so he's just basically like, this is stupid, this is fake. He loves using Dunning-Kruger like in every other tweet. Like, Jesus, it gave it a rest. He's never heard it about most of this stuff, as of a lot of people. So, and he doesn't know me.
He's a dude trying to build a career on quoting experts, man. Pay him no mind. That is
All of
literally
this,
all he does.
There are people out there. I could have come to
Experts.
any one of you and you not have known me and be like, I don't know this guy, I don't trust him. Like, therefore, what he says is just a bunch of nonsense. So quite often, we can make these sort of connections just with the people that we know and that they sort of trust us. And I know you guys are, in your various journeys along the way, and we don't all agree on everything. We don't all see things the same way. But I do think, I just want to stress how valuable it's been just to have this connection here with you guys open to talking about this stuff. Some people just want to reject it outright. And I'm like, dude, listen, when we got squares and we got straight angles, nature doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You got to open yourself up a little bit, and they don't want to take the time to do that. They just want to reject it outright and cold.
It's
crazy.
growing though, Brian, because I want to say the chat is overwhelmingly curious, skeptical, curious, excited, but not being a dick about it for the most part. Like, I think we only had one pareidolia comment, and that's fair. We have that sometimes on this. Look, sometimes the 8 of us are looking at, or the 9 of us are looking at this, and some of us go pareidolia and some of us don't. And so it is spreading. I wanted to say thank you so much to the chat, because the chat has been popping. There was a lot of questions. I apologize. It's hard to kind of interrupt the flow and
Dave, I've got
all the questions.
I've got 4 questions that I copied. If we could just quickly.
Oh, good man.
Yeah. We can, and then the first one I wanted to bring up.
Brian, can we return your sentiment quickly, just because it's simply appropriate, and say thank you and how how thankful we are for this connection, bro? Because this is certainly not my natural field to study until I saw Jean's work and I saw the correlations. And every show I do with you guys, I get so much out of. I get to think about and to expand my own theories and to push what I think is possible and see what fits where. But most of all, I get to kind of do what I do myself, is look at this overwhelming number of anomalies and wonder why narratives aren't keeping up. And I couldn't be more grateful to you guys for having me on board with it, man. So thank you.
And I also want to say it's a global effort we got going on here, right? We got Poland, we got Portugal, we got South Africa, we got Canada, we got the United States. And I think that's really cool. And we have a large range of ages on this panel, which I think is important. We typically have another female here. And all that I think is important to the overall panel. I love the idea of bringing on more guests and experts. People are suggesting people like Robert Schock and whatnot. I did interview him once, but the fucking audio was shit. So it was my literal worst nightmare. Oh. And so I don't know if I don't know if he'll take my calls anymore. But also he'd be pretty
Ricardo,
possible to
write the
get.
letter, and Dave, you send it. Okay, we can do this.
Try Brian Forrester. Do you guys know Brian Forrester?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have a
I've
connection.
approached him in the past and he ignores me. I would so much like for him to take a look at this because he's a megalithic guy. He looks at megaliths.
He would be an interesting guy to bring on, and he would definitely have an
Yes.
open mind about some of this stuff too.
I don't know if he's a mainstream archaeologist or geologist.
Yeah,
But,
and I
you
don't
know,
know
he's
if an
very-
archaeologist is the right. We need a geologist, I think.
Yeah. Praveen Mohan is a archaeologist, not a geologist.
Man, I've been chasing that guy for 2 years. He's really
Yeah.
hard to get to.
Praveen's an awesome guy, man. If we can get him on.
I could try. I got his contact.
Oh, wow.
I also have his contact. He just dang enigma. It's
busy.
hard to get a hold of. A lot of people try to get to him. I mean, the dude's got like 3 million followers on YouTube.
Yeah.
But William Henry and him are friends, and so I'm waiting for the dust to settle after our William Henry interview, and then see if he can connect us. We talked to somebody else who's friends with him too recently, didn't we? Anyway, the connection could possibly get made. But let's get to some of these questions.
There's
first-
one.
Yeah,
What
this one's for
percentage
you.
of Mars surface is publicly available? Well, the whole surface of Mars is available on the context camera photographs, the Mars Global Surveyor photographs, but not all the high-rise photographs. High-rise covers about, I'd say, 30% of the surface of Mars. But the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter context camera photographed the entire surface of Mars.
Got
But
it.
that's at a scale of, what is it? 800 meters per pixel.
That's enormous.
Yes,
Very little detail in that.
yes. But the high-rise photographs are taken at 25 centimeters per pixel.
Interesting.
Yes. So, yeah, thanks for taking that question.
Yeah.
Okay,
What
let's
other
go.
questions did you have, Brian?
I just copied and pasted some from the chat that's showing up here. I'll try to do a lightning round. Rubate had a question: how easy would it be to instruct AI to maintain an official narrative
Good question.
when dealing with Mars queries? I don't know as to okay, easy. Grok does this all the time. Every time someone says, "Grok, is this true?" as it relates to anything I post about Mars, it always just posts back what I call NASA slop. Okay, right? It's just always the official NASA narrative about everything, and then I'll try to correct it. I'll go through the great lengths to try to correct it and cite stuff, and then it's like, "Oh, you're right, Brian. Thank you for correcting me." Then the very next minute, it just goes right back to repeating the NASA stuff. So none of it sticks. So don't waste your time doing it. I've wasted too much time trying. So Grok is doing it right.
I want to say we're talking about Grok. There are a bunch of different AIs that are a little. They all have a different flavor and a different spin. And there's certain ones you can train better than others to answer your questions properly. And somebody answered that question in the chat. If you're very careful and deliberate about your queries, you can get these AIs to answer your questions. I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, but I know other people who do. Jacqueline being one of them, but Jacqueline, if you're watching, what's up? But you can work these AIs. Grok is not reliable. ChatGPT is not reliable, but some of the other ones you can. Like for example, what's his name? Oh man, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Anyway, I've had him on the show a bunch of times. He's a mythologist, but he was tracking 3i Atlas using like 6 different AIs. And
Lord Scranton.
Laird Scranton, thank you, the legend himself. We should bring Laird Scranton on for this. I don't know if you guys know Laird Scranton, but he'd be fun
Yep.
to have on for this. But yeah, AI is not totally useless, but I would say Grok is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll use Grok from time to time, just running basic numbers.
Yeah, I use Grok all the time too, but for this purpose,
You can't. Yeah, some people think it's God,
yeah.
and anyway. Quick. Okay, another thing from user Super M Form. George Haas would be a good guest. George is another Mars researcher
Yes.
who's been doing this the longest, probably 30 years. He's been on Ancient Aliens and just did the Unexplained with William Shatner, and he got his Square on Mars research paper published with Robert Schoch. He doesn't really have an online presence aside from a website. John and I are trying to get him online and into this new digital social media thing. But, we'll see. Another question, I don't know who it's from. What about mutation of elements from I think this relates to Brandenburg. What about mutation of elements from electrical phenomenon, the only other explanation plausible for the isotopes? I have yet to see how electrical discharge produces these isotopes. And I think that there's this misconception that plasma discharge or electrical discharge can produce these isotopes. And I have yet to understand the mechanism how, because it's really only by thermonuclear R-processed events that do this sort of thing. Another last one here, Dave, is also someone made the comment, after discovering the face on Mars, virtually every American thinks there was something there. So the fight is not with educating the people, including Congress, meaning the fight is with who? Well, I think I fundamentally disagree. I don't think most people think that there's something to Mars. I think there is an underground community who might, but I'm focused on messaging to the majority of people who I believe know nothing about this. They might have heard the face on Mars, and then they might have heard, oh, there's nothing to it, and then that's it. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I disagree with that too. I think most people thought, like when you see Mission to Mars, I walked away with that thinking, oh, that was a cool movie. I didn't think, oh, there's, a civilization on on Mars. So yeah, I disagree with that too. If for anyone who's still in the chat, is there any more? Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah,
John or Ryan?
there was a question. Robert who? It's Robert Schoch. They were asking what's his surname.
She's making fun of how I said it.
I see it.
Someone wants to know if Jane can get Graham Hancock on. We would love that if possible, Jane. No pressure.
Yeah. Right. We do need I would like a geologist who's like open-minded, but also skeptical, because I would want to hear, because we're just all I would want to hear what a and then here's like you do have to consider the atmospheric conditions on Mars, like being different than Earth, and how that translates into erosion. And I don't know if there's a person on Earth who specializes in that.
Yeah, there's CO2. CO2 causes strange erosion in metal, but there's a very thin atmosphere on Mars. So I don't know how strong the wind erosion theory is, because the particles are very light.
Yeah. I'd still be satisfied, Dave, with any geologist that could simply sit and tell me whether or not it could form on Earth. I mean, that's progress, right?
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, to have some guys sit and tell me that couldn't happen on Earth, then all they're left with is, oh, crazy weather. At least we're narrowing it down to the things we believe occurred on that planet.
Yeah, Jason, do the call. So if you are a geologist...
Soilman Dan, if you're interested in having an appearance here on Mars Disclosure, he's one of my followers, Dan Fallow. Come see us, buddy. We would love to hear how this stuff could form on Earth, because I see so much that I know couldn't form on Earth, but That's just me. I find weird shit here on Earth as it is that people don't believe form on Earth, even when I point it out to them. So, I could be biased, but it's the amount, guys. It's the amount of anomalies. I say it every show. It's simply the amount of anomalies. You can look at any one or two and try to dismiss yourself out with pareidoia or some other thing. But when I've been sitting here for weeks now with you gentlemen, weeks upon weeks upon weeks, I've seen a lot of stuff, and there's more stuff, and there's so much more stuff. And it's just, you got to take a look at it.
This is Ed Schlumberger. Who's Myron Cook? Does anyone know who Myron Cook is? No, Ed. Who's Myron Cook? Let us know. Yeah. Suppose we wrap it up.
Yeah, I got a parting thought here, Dave, or tease rather. We've been talking about metaphysical. What are we talking about? When I say metaphysical, what does that mean? And specifically, I'm just talking about the remote viewing of Mars and the channeling that from William and Alison Brown. So we can look at that brief presentation next time. But I want to promote something here. I want to plug something. When I first heard about remote viewing, and I don't know what everyone's understanding of remote viewing was, this idea about psychic spies and the CIA in the 70s and 80s, I thought that was nuts. All right. All this stuff I thought was nuts. Right. And then I looked into it. I'm like, holy smokes, there's something to it. All last year, I have been working on another documentary, and it's coming out on Tuesday on YouTube, and it's entirely about remote viewing. It's just a 101 version of what the heck remote viewing is all about. Now, with remote viewing, currently, there's no shortage of podcasts and interviews and stuff about remote viewing. I wanted to go one step further. I wanted to put it to the test. I wanted to show it in action. And you guys can be the judge of whether or not I was successful at doing that, but I came up with a test, and I tasked a group of remote viewers against a target, and I show you the whole thing in there. So, needless to say,
the lottery number. Were you successful?
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. It doesn't exactly work like you see it in the movies, but there's enough crossover there where you sort of get it. I'm convinced. And statistically speaking, the data backs all this up. Science has actually studied this sort of thing. But I wanted to tease this because if remote viewing is new for you, then I highly recommend watching my documentary coming this Tuesday. But it might serve as a good primer for when we actually do talk about the metaphysical next time, because you'll understand that there's a lot to it. There's been 50 years of scientific study on it. Data collected. It's been proven to be effective, not at 100%. So
well, the
there's
CIA
some
spent
there.
a shit ton of my tax dollars studying it, so there better be something to it.
And I think there is.
There is, guys.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of there's something to all these different psychic abilities: remote viewing, mind sight, precognition, psychokinesis. These abilities are waking up within humanity right now for some reason. I can't explain. But more and more people are able to do this, learning how to do this on their own, teaching each other how to do it. They just had their second annual Psi Games where they test this stuff under controlled conditions. And some people just come out of the woodworks, no training at all, and they can kick ass at psychokinesis or mind sight and things like that. And remote viewing is one of the ones that is really the most powerful tool we could have if we're exploring what we're trying to explore, which is shit that's super far away across distance and time. And if humanity's truly elevating right now, we may get some answers over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm just hoping. This is hopeful me, but these are real abilities. They're not. It's not it's not science fiction.
They're
Let's
real,
remember
Dave,
that
and could you
famous-
believe there's a Bible verse that will back you up and close us out? It says, in those days, everybody likes to talk about the negative shit that it might say about those days. It says, but I will pour out upon your sons and your daughters the gifts of prophecies and the powers of spirits. Out of nowhere, you know, so...
And that's the guy
Hit
who
all
raised
the
from the
lines.
desk and said, Bone, I'm going into the next office.
Brian, is this documentary going to be on your YouTube channel?
Yes, I worked.
Okay.
It's an hour long. It's a big production. It's basically Blue Planet Red, but for remote viewing. I didn't go to the desert, but I did go on location with my cousin, and we did this whole creative part of the thing to show you the demonstration of the remote viewers. There's a question from Curious Dimension, Matt, our friend Matt Barone. He asked what the title was. I call it Remote Viewing Psychics Among Us. So that's coming out on Tuesday.
He also said the CIA funded it. Then they said there was nothing to it. We can definitely trust those guys.
Well said in the chat, Raw.
Nothing to see here. That's their whole game. Oleg, do you have any closing thoughts for us, brother?
Yes, sorry for being a little bit like on the quiet side. But
It's 1 in the morning where you're at, probably. So.
Yes, but it's not like that only, but so many topics and I had so many thoughts. I didn't want to talk for like hour or something, but yeah, plenty of stuff as you, Dave, said. We've covered some recently on your channel too, so maybe in the future with all these threads going on and with all of the information you are giving me and that is inspiring me to connect these dots, we can, maybe I can present also something, from my perspective, how I see it, especially like the ancient side, pyramid side, but also these we did with the calculations about the solar system orbits and this missing planets, cataclysms, so tons of stuff. Thanks for having me on again and another tons of information about cataclysms, but also, as always, anomalies. These are, I think, the biggest shifts because people see them. If I right now share the photo, I may do that very soon if you, John, will allow me, but I can take a screenshot of your anomaly, put it on Polish Facebook, and you will see they will wow. And I think these are, when it comes to the disclosure in public, these are the biggest needles that are pushing everything forward, because we can speculate, we can see all these different theories, but here are photos, you see them that they are anomalies, you see there are plenty of them, so that's my take on it.
Thanks, Alex. You can share anything you like, anything. I don't
just copy and you mean from your I will of course tag you, so but I want to show some of these things because I was actually sharing our live streams to Polish audience, but not plenty of people wanted to watch in English, so I'm thinking of showing some of the stuff.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I second Oleg doing a presentation because the one he did plus the information he's getting here does fit into an ancient cataclysm within the solar system, and we're just putting pieces together here, right? So Ricardo, last words.
Well, extremely interesting as always, and we are all learning at the same time as we are looking at these things and discussing amongst us, and with the panel that has different opinions, not necessarily agreeing with one another, and I think that's the vital point of it, because we are much more likely to learn from those we disagree with than those we agree with. So
totally agree.
If you disagree with us, watch our show.
Yeah, we want that. We want
good, healthy debate. Yes, that's good.
Jean, I want to say I really appreciate all your hard work and bringing all these anomalies to us and for everyone to see, and other people that you get them from. I know there's a community of people. Any final words for the chat and for us and for the show?
Yes, thanks, Dave, for hosting the show. Brian, thanks for pulling this all together. I look forward to seeing some really interesting guests. I want Dr. Brandenburg on, to be honest.
Totally.
And
Agreed.
George Ross, yeah. Dr. Brandenburg has this dead civilization on Mars hypothesis. And I'd like to hear more about that. And thank you to all the subscribers that have joined in the chat. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, guys. And I just want to say thank you to Megan. She's doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff here for the chat and for the show. So thank you very much, Megan. And she's always bringing the cosplay game, which I think makes things fun. Any final words, Megan?
Just don't forget to get your moon water jars out for tonight's big full moon. Very excited to get into the metaphysical side next time. That's the 14th of next month, June. So make sure you put that in your calendar.
Do explain, do you put water in the jars or just the jars?
Yeah, what's a moon water jar?
Jars, and then you put it out under the full moon, and it holds the energy of that full moon.
But with water or not? I didn't understand it yet.
Water
With
goes,
water, okay.
Yeah. And one time when I ate a ton of mushrooms, I put my hands in the moon water jar, and it was like pure electricity. So I'm a believer.
It said you can remove bad energy from items by putting in the moon water in the moon and all kinds of things. Yeah.
Put it in the bath with me.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Interesting.
I'm putting out a moon. What if it's cloudy? Does that count?
That's okay. All good.
That's
Put it out
okay.
there under the sky.
Moon jar. Got it.
For us with John, it's too late. It's night already.
It's out there. It might not be at its peak yet.
I'm on it. Shaman, Jason.
Oh man, as always, I'm just grateful to be here, Dave. Thank you, man. Sitting here at all of these independent researchers, all of these talented and wonderful people. Thank you, Dave and Megan, for the work you do putting it here, and thank the rest of you for being who you are and for being some people that I can be very proud and honored to be at the table here with every single week, and to leave you with a mind is like a parachute. Best you used when all the way open, and think long, think wrong. See you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, any last words, brother?
Dave, on the spectrum of corners of the weirdo internet, where do you think we are?
On the spectrum.
We're building our own.
Far out, man. We are far out.
It is what's the middle? We need a baseline.
So far outside the box, we round up right back in the middle of the box, man.
There is no box.
I just think of the Cosmic Summit conference when I was like, I thought we were weird, and then the conference next to us was like way weirder.
Oh yeah, wasn't it like dolls, adults with
like
dolls?
It
It was like an adult creepy doll
was
conference.
hardcore, man. We
Plus-
seemed downright normal next to those guys, but they probably thought we were weird. So it's all perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I went to Contact in the Desert last year, which is actually going on right now, I believe, or just wrapping up. And there was like this galactic federation that had like uniforms and stuff there, and they were trying to get people to join their cult. So I don't think we're that. I don't think we're that far.
We're looking for the truth of our past,
I
man.
keep saying it. They
I
close
think-
them down. These people are all loose.
And I don't mean this politically, but I think we're just slightly left of center. That's what I think. And let's wrap it up, guys. This is just a pleasure for me. I really enjoy this. I always learn a lot. I love connecting with the community. I love connecting with you guys. And Brian and I always talk before this and go, okay, this is gonna be a little shorter this time. We're gonna do this in an hour and a half or 2 hours. And
It is shorter.
It never happens.
It is shorter.
Yeah, this one's about 20 minutes shorter. But that means we're having fun. That means the chat's having fun. And I think we're onto something, as the vibrational consciousness of the universe, I just made that up, gets raised with artificial intelligence and nobody needing a job anymore, and people being able to explore what they love and what's important to them. I think there could be a collective awakening where people start really getting into this shit. Or we could go District 9, like Ricardo said, Skynet, that kind of thing. Could go one way or the other. So be nice to everyone. Spread love out into the universe. Because
Go within.
That's what's
and ask for the universal income. That's what we need.
We do.
We
And
need
that
the universal income.
well, they're going to have to do a universal income because nobody's going to have a job.
Yeah.
But I do believe
Either that or blow us
answer-
all up by war, dude. I mean, they
Well-
do have other options.
The answer to avoiding the technological AI dystopia is light, love, and truth. And that's what I like to say at the end of every one of our shows. So with that being said, see you in 2 weeks. And love you guys. Talk soon.